Chapter 226. Seeing that the girl did not even raise her head, Wuxia smiled silently and continued to read the documents in his hand. The next day, Chu Zhixing held the handwritten translation document in his hand and took a long time to confirm that this was the translation of his application instructions. In the entire class, only Bei Yunj knew that he was going to write this. However, what made Chu Zhixing incredulous was that this time, he had written a lot of medical terms in the instructions seriously. Bei Yunj was actually able to complete this instruction in school. It did not seem to have taken much time. Chu Zhixing suppressed the surging emotions in his heart and thought of Bei Yunj's foreign language marks. With such a level of translation, how could it only be 87 marks, instantly? Chu Zhixing felt that he seemed to have unknowingly found out something incredible again. They were still in math class. The teacher slammed the podium and woke up the students who were sleeping. "Why aren't you listening to the test paper this time? You're at the bottom again, your class is at the bottom again. It's 10 marks lower than the average score of class 6. The math teacher was furious and pointed at the fill-in-the-blank question on the paper. The marking teacher said that only one person in the entire grade got the third question of the fill-in-the-blank question right. Don't you know the difference? Suddenly, Lu Yuanci said faintly, "It's luck." Luck? Then why didn't such a good thing happen to you? The math teacher hated the students in this class the most. They thought that they had a good family background and did not need to study seriously. Each one was more useless than the other. It didn't happen to me, but it didn't happen to my desk mate. Lu Yuanci glanced at Bei Yunj, who only got the 3 fill-in-the-blank questions right, and his gaze became even more distant. He scored 28 marks in math, and Bei Yunj scored 30 marks. This fill-in-the-blank question was worth 2 marks each. The math teacher was speechless. The other students could not hold back their laughter. No way, right? No one in class 1 and class 2 got it right, but someone in our class got it right? The boy's tone was exaggerated. Sometimes, luck can really cause a gap. This chorus almost made the math teacher's face turn green. In the back row, Lu Yuanci whispered, "This might not be luck. If one were to take a closer look at Bei Yunj's test papers, one would realize that Bei Yunj's test papers only had 8 correct answers and 2 correct fill-in-the-blank questions. The scribbles at the back were all wrong. Only the chemistry teacher was soft-hearted and gave Bei Yunj 2 points for her hard work. So what if you got this question right? Can someone from your class get full marks for the college entrance examination?" The math teacher slammed the table. Subsequently, amidst the silence, Chu Zhixing muttered again for some reason, "It's not impossible." Everyone, ever since Chu Zhixing started hanging out with Bei Yunj, not only did he dare to scold his classmates, he even dared to scold his teachers now. Bei Yunj was really something. However, everyone thought about it and realized that Chu Zhixing wasn't wrong. Chu Zhixing only lost 2 marks on his math paper. Bei Yunj was the only one who scored on the third question. Thinking about it, this was the only question Chu Zhixing didn't answer correctly. The math teacher's face darkened. "Chu Zhixing, don't," suddenly. Bei Yunj suddenly curled her lips and clapped. Her voice was lazy. "Well said." After that, Lu Yuanci also clapped very respectfully. Even the classroom was filled with applause. Those who didn't know better would think that they were carrying out some mysterious and grand ceremony. Chapter 227. Seeing this situation, the mathematics teacher swallowed the words that he was about to say to Chu Zhixing. Immediately, he looked at Bei Yunj with an ashen face and said in a cold voice, "Bei Yunj, don't think that. Thank you for teaching me well. Otherwise, how could little Chu be so courageous? This applause is for you. Please keep up the good work." Bei Yunj's appearance was languid, but her clear eyes only made people feel that she was sincere. The mathematics teacher was about to scold her when he forcefully swallowed back his words. His face turned green and red. In the end, he could only take a deep breath and say, "Continue the lesson." Seeing this scene, many students looked at Bei Yunj with admiration. A refined person was really different. However, Lu Yuanxi glanced at Bei Yunj. How could he not know that she was trying to protect Chu Zhixing? The mathematics teacher had a bad temper and liked to taunt his students. It was said that the last batch of students he taught almost committed suicide because of this. After school, Bei Yunj received a phone call. Unexpectedly, the person who called her was the director of Yuncheng Hospital. "Miss Pei, there's something I have to tell you. Your family has invited Dr. Fang Gisheng to come over for treatment." "Do you know about this?" the director asked carefully. He did not forget that Zhong Xinglin had said that his security system, which had been modified by Bei Yunj, was worth more than 10 million yuan. He should indeed tell Bei Yunj about this. What? The light in Bei Yunj's eyes suddenly turned cold. Didn't they say that that person did not leave the city at will? That was why Mother Qin had persuaded old Master Qin to go to the neighboring city for the surgery. It seems that your mother gave him an expensive consultation fee, so Dr. Fang made an exception and came here. The director paused and said, "However, you don't have to worry too much. Dr. Fang is indeed an expert in this field." "When did he go over?" The director said, "Yesterday. The surgery was scheduled for tomorrow." Bei Yunj's eyes flashed coldly, and his indolent tone also turned cold. "Dean, can I trouble you with something?" "Miss Pei, please speak your mind." Naturally, the hospital director did not want to offend someone like Bei Yunj. To have such achievements at such a young age. If he were to grow up in the future, he would definitely amaze everyone. "Don't let Dr. Fang perform the surgery." Bei Yunj's tone was neither fast nor slow. However, when the director heard this, he almost couldn't react. "Miss Pei, he is one of the top experts in the country." The hospital director could not figure out what Bei Yunj was thinking. Since Bei Yunj had dealt with the Antifan personally for old Master Qin's sake, she was definitely not someone who did not care about old Master Qin's life. "I know, but my father's life is too precious. I can't accept any accidents." Bei Yunj smiled, but there was no warmth in her eyes. "Tomorrow, the doctor I arranged will contact you and prepare for the old man's operation." It took a while for the president to react. Okay. I will listen to Miss Pei." After hanging up the phone, the hospital director was in a daze for a long time. He could not understand why everyone in the Qin family thought that Bei Yunj was ignorant and incompetent. However, what made him even more emotional was that old Master Qin, who had dominated the business world for so many years, was actually willing to put his life in the hands of a young girl. Chapter 228. After that, Bei Yunj called old Master Qin again and told him not to accept other surgeries. Old Master Qin, who loved his grandson as much as his life, naturally agreed without hesitation. In the evening, after Stephen saw Bei Yunj's message, he called. "Yunj? What happened?" "Someone found a doctor for my grandfather." The moment Bei Yunj said this, Stephen's temper rose uncontrollably. He chuckled in disbelief. "In this day and age, there's actually someone who dares to snatch patients from me? I might need you to talk to the director of the hospital tomorrow so that they'll be more assured." Stephen replied, "No problem. I'll get my assistant to contact that hospital then." "Oh right. Don't worry, Yunj. I'll be able to go to Yuncheng this Saturday." "So soon?" Bei Yunj was a little surprised. "There happens to be an academic lecture. The higher-ups want me to come into contact with the new talents in your country." Stephen was smug. Wasn't it just a medical dispute with some stinky money? Did he really think he could do anything to him? At the mention of this, Bei Yunj's lips suddenly curled up. "Okay, then I'll see you on Saturday." After hanging up the call, Stephen was elated and was already typing a message, planning to provoke Marcus. He asked him to sign Bei Yunj and he kept showing off. In the end, he was still the first to see Bei Yunj. At this moment, Marcus, who was sleeping in, had no idea that he had already fallen into a situation where there was a wolf in front and a tiger behind him. In the hospital. Early in the morning, Mrs. Qin stood at the door of the ward with a livid expression. Beside her, Qin Yojiao was holding her arm. "Mom, don't be angry. The director didn't want to arrange it this way." Qin Yojiao's words seemed to be smoothing things over for the director, but in fact, she was directing the anger at Bei Yunj. Even the director could not help but glance at Qin Yojiao meaningfully. "Mrs. Qin, don't be agitated. Miss Pei has her reasons for making such an arrangement," the director said. Mrs. Qin laughed coldly. "What reason can she have? She wants the Qin family to be in chaos so that she can be happy. Mrs. Qin, even if you don't like your daughter, you shouldn't say that." The school head disagreed. Mother Qin knew that the director of Yun City Hospital was highly respected. Then, she said to him, "Back then, my father-in-law made a will. If he passed away, most of the benefits in the family would be given to her. Director, how could a naive girl have so many ideas to go against her parents?" These words were very obscure. However, the dean could also tell that Bei Yunj wanted to kill old Master Qin for the inheritance. "Mrs. Qin, although you're Miss Pei's biological mother, she still has the right to sue you for slander." The head of the hospital's expression turned cold and this tough attitude stunned Mrs. Qin and Qin Yojiao. Bei Yunj had only met the director a few times. Why was even the director blindly helping her? "Director, that's not what my mother meant. I hope you can understand that my mother is concerned about my grandfather's feelings." Qin Yojiao's eyes were helpless. After all, Yunja's actions are indeed very unacceptable. Dr. Fong is already one of the top experts in the country. I don't know why she insisted on finding a doctor herself. The director was also an understanding person. After hearing this, he could not help sneering in his heart. They were both daughters, but one was doted on, while the other was a true genius that no one had discovered. Chapter 229. How far did the Qin family want to go? They left their treasures at home and even hugged a rock and said it was beautiful. The dean's impression of this family was getting worse and worse. He said coldly, "Have you ever thought that maybe Miss Pei doesn't care about the Qin family's assets at all? With Bei Yunja's ability, if she really wanted to take over the Qin family, she didn't have to hurt old Master Qin at all. After all, this was someone Zhong Xinglin wanted to get to know." But, before Mrs. Qin could finish speaking, the dean interrupted her. "Old Master Qin has already agreed to this and signed a written agreement. Even if Dr. Fong arrives, I can't let him perform the surgery." After that, the dean left without even looking at him. This scene made Mrs. Qin's face turn red and livid. "Mom, don't be angry. You were too impulsive last time and made such a statement. Everyone will be biased towards her," Qin Yojiao said softly. Mrs. Qin lost control of her emotions and her eyes were frighteningly red. "Back then, I shouldn't have agreed to let them look for Bei Yunj." Hearing this, a dark glint flashed past Qin Yojiao's eyes and she didn't say anything. Suddenly, "Student Qin." Qin Yojiao and Mrs. Qin turned around and saw Fang Gesheng's dark expression. "Haven't you arranged it yet?" "Mrs. Qin, although I came to Yuncheng because of Student Qin, I'm very busy." Hearing this, Mrs. Qin hated Bei Yunj even more, but she could only explain anxiously, Dr. Fong, I'm sorry. My mother had already discussed this with the dean, but because someone else in the family recommended it, another doctor also wants to treat my grandfather." Hearing this, Fang Gesheng felt that it was ridiculous. He sneered with a cold expression. "Even I have a 30% to 40% chance of failure for this kind of surgery. Other doctors? I'd like to see who's so confident." Qin Yojiao pretended to hesitate. "That doctor doesn't seem to be here yet, preposterous. His expression was livid as he went upstairs. I want to know who is so extravagant. Fang Gusheng was one of the top specialists in the country. In the past few years, he had indeed never encountered such treatment. Now, a person who hadn't even shown up was able to snatch away his patient. Was he treating him like a young doctor who had just made his debut? At this moment, could something have happened? Mrs. Qin frowned. Qin Yojiao laughed as a strange glint flashed past her eyes. Mom, it's not easy for you to pressure the head of the hospital, but Dr. Fang is not someone to be trifled with in their circle. It would be best to let Fang Gusheng suppress the doctor hired by Bei Yunj. When the time comes. After the surgery, old Master Qin still remembered her good points. The office. Not too long after Principal Zhang returned, he brewed a cup of chrysanthemum tea to cool down. However, when he turned around and saw the email on the computer, he was stunned. Wait a minute. Who sent this email? The dean almost doubted if he had seen wrongly. Meanwhile, the office door was suddenly pushed open, and even the sound was mixed with anger. The director jumped in fright and turned to see Fang Gusheng's furious face. Dr. Fang, I've heard a lot about you. Is it the rule of a private hospital that you don't have to knock? Suppressing his anger, the director smiled insincerely. Chapter 230. Explanation? What explanation? The hospital director drank his chrysanthemum tea expressionlessly. Old Mr. Qin is my patient. If your hospital doesn't let me treat him, do you not take human life seriously? Fang Gusheng's tone was mocking. The hospital director smiled. Of course not. It's just that old Mr. Qin signed an agreement. This operation can only be carried out if his granddaughter, Bei Yunj, agrees. Isn't Qin Yojiao his granddaughter too? How would I know? Maybe the old man thinks Miss Pei is more sensible. With that said, the hospital director poured a cup of chrysanthemum tea slowly. Dr. Fang, have a cup of tea to cool down. Fang Gusheng laughed coldly. Director, I don't want to beat around the bush with you either. Since I'm in Yuncheng, I have to be responsible for this patient. From what I know, Miss Pei is not even 20 years old and was cut off the moment she returned home. I really can't trust such a person's social relationships. Fang Gusheng had only been told by Qin Yojiao that Bei Yunj used to live in an orphanage and cut off her relationship with Mrs. Qin when she came back. He knew nothing else. Dr. Fang, is this the only solution? The hospital director's gaze turned cold. At this moment, Fang Gusheng seemed to have suddenly remembered something and said with a smile, how about this? I'll give the hospital director some face. Since Miss Pei is confident that the doctor she hired is better than me, you have to let me know who it is. Hearing this, the hospital director fell into deep thought. He could not figure out who Bei Yunj could get to treat him. Why? Are you unwilling? As the living Buddha in the patient's mouth, you won't fool around with a little girl, right? The hospital director took a deep breath and glanced at Fang Gusheng, who was determined to bite the bullet. In the end, he could only agree. At the same time, the phone in the hospital director's office rang. Hello, Director Hu? I'm Miss Bei Yunj's attending physician assistant. Is it convenient for you to answer a video call? Oh, sure. The hospital director was a little dazed. He did not expect this mysterious doctor to come looking for him. But at the same time, he was a little nervous. He did not know who the Dr. Bei Yunj would be. After all, logically speaking, Fang Gusheng was indeed the most suitable person to operate on old Master Qin. Miss Pei's attending physician requests a video call. Dr. Fang, do you want to come with us? The director asked. Frowning, Fang Gusheng could only acquiesce. Video conference? He wondered what this person was up to. Did he know whose patient he had accidentally stumbled upon? Fang Gusheng had a mocking expression on his face. He had already thought of how to mock this person. A short while later, It wasn't until the director turned on the projector used for video conferences that the two of them looked up and suddenly saw a figure eating instant noodles. The one who spoke was a very young voice. "Hello? Dean Hu, can you see me?" The corner of the dean's mouth twitched. Beside him, Fang Gusheng sneered. Where did this random doctor come from? She was having a meeting while eating instant noodles? Why don't you finish your noodles first before we talk? The dean asked. I didn't eat noodles. After the assistant finished speaking, he turned his head and asked, who's eating noodles in the institute? Meanwhile, Stephen, who was eating instant noodles, shuddered. He slowly raised his head and saw the camera aimed at him. Stephen cursed. Bastard, who are you pointing the camera at? Stephen picked up his book, pressed down on the lid of the instant noodles, and got up to slap her. Chapter 231. When he saw Stephen's twisted expression, the hospital director knew that this conversation would not go on for the time being. Fang Gusheng couldn't help but sneer. Is this the medical team Miss Pei found? Could it be that Miss Pei spent some money casually and found some random team overseas? The hospital director frowned when he heard these harsh words. However, before he could retort, the hospital director suddenly felt that the person eating the instant noodles looked familiar. He seemed to have seen him somewhere before. Have I seen him somewhere before? The hospital director muttered to himself. Fang Gusheng couldn't help but laugh out loud. He felt that the hospital director was saving Bei Yunj some face. Hospital director, you're a reputable person in the country. How could you know this group of people from a medical institution who might not have broken the law? The hospital director frowned when he heard this. Dr. Fang, don't be so rude. Then, just as Fang Gusheng was about to continue speaking, the person on the other end of the screen returned. He wiped the soup off his beard and placed the instant noodles under the desk without batting an eyelid. The hospital director was speechless, he had already seen everything clearly. Was there a need to hide it? Hello, I'm Stephen, the director of Country R's Medical Research Institute. I sent you an email this morning, but you didn't reply. That's why I'm anxious. As soon as he finished speaking, Fang Gusheng, who had been mocking him, froze. The hospital director jerked his head up and stared at Stephen's face. Our Country R's Medical Research Institute? Mr. Stephen? The hospital director's eyes widened. He finally realized where he had seen this person before. Wasn't this the person who had stood on the stage to speak at the academic exchange conference? Bei Yunj had actually managed to invite Mr. Stephen. This immortal status in the medical industry was worlds apart from Fang Gusheng's. The hospital director thought of the email just now. At first, he had wondered if it was a scam and hadn't dared to think in that direction. However, Mr. Stephen was actually the attending doctor Bei Yunj had invited. Fang Gusheng, who was standing beside him, obviously recognized the famous person in front of him. His face was pale and he stood there silently, as if he was part of the background. May I ask how Miss Bei Yunj managed to invite you? The principal couldn't help but ask. Isn't this network too wide? Even the big shots from overseas were not spared. It's mainly because my old friends introduced me. Stephen was obviously very happy at the mention of Bei Yunj. The joy on her face made the director of the hospital inexplicably suspicious. It was as if Bei Yunj was the important connection they wanted. This situation simply made the dean feel extremely complicated. A short while later, the director slowly turned his head and looked at Fang Gusheng expressionlessly. Why aren't you saying anything? He couldn't help but feel a little nervous facing a big shot alone. However, Fang Gusheng's face instantly turned green and red. You are? Stephen looked at him. Fang Gusheng said stiffly, my name is Fang Gusheng. I was Elder Qin's attending physician in the beginning. Listen to Yen. Suddenly, Stephen understood. He smiled amiably. I see. Actually, this surgery isn't too difficult. I'm fully confident that I can do it well. If Dr. Fang can do it, I can talk to Miss Pei. Hearing this, Fang Gusheng's legs almost gave out. He didn't have the guts to make such a guarantee. Chapter 232. Mr. Stephen, I'm just here to confirm it. But since it's you, there's naturally no problem. Hearing Fang Gusheng's 180-degree change in attitude, the director's eyelids twitched uncontrollably. Even if he eats instant noodles during meetings, it can't stop his professionalism. Dr. Fang, don't you think so? The director asked with a smile in his native language. Fang Gusheng's expression was terrible and he could not say a word. His mind was in a mess. He never thought that the person Bei Yunj found would be Mr. Stephen. Weren't Qin Youjiao and Mrs. Qin playing with him? Stephen's ability could be said to be the ceiling of this professional field. In the end, this mother and daughter pair still dared to come to him for treatment? Did they want to see him embarrass himself on purpose? At the door of the ward, Bei Yunj saw Mrs. Qin and Qin Youjiao sitting together, looking like a warm mother and daughter pair. But very quickly, her eyes glanced over lazily and she walked towards the ward with a basket of fruits. Bei Yunj. Mrs. Qin stared at her with a cold expression. Mrs. Qin, I'm not in the mood to listen to you. Bei Yunj turned around carelessly and glanced at her with a faint smile. Then, before Mrs. Qin could say anything, Bei Yunj pushed the door open and entered. You dash, Mrs. Qin was stunned and gritted her teeth even more. Mom, Dr. Fang is back. Qin Youjiao pulled Mrs. Qin and reminded her softly. Hearing this, Mrs. Qin immediately changed her attitude and looked at Fang Gusheng gently. Dr. Fang, have you talked to the director? I'm sorry to trouble you to have to settle such a small matter. After this operation is fine, who knew? Fang Gusheng interrupted her and sneered. Mrs. Qin, you really think highly of me. These words made Mrs. Qin unable to react. Why did she feel that Fang Gusheng's attitude towards them seemed to have become colder? What do you mean, Dr. Fang? Miss Pei has already found an attending doctor. Why do you have to worry so much? With that said, Fang Gusheng suppressed the urge to scold Mrs. Qin on the spot and knocked on the door of the ward before entering. Only Mrs. Qin and Qin Youjiao were left standing at the door with ugly expressions. In the ward. Miss Pei? Fang Gusheng took a deep breath and respectfully said. Listen to Yen. Bei Yunj glanced at Fang Gusheng and asked casually, who are you? Nice to meet you. I'm Fang Gusheng. Fang Gusheng didn't mind Bei Yunj's lukewarm attitude at all, but old Master Qin, who was next to him, had a strange expression on his face. Last time, he had also heard Mother Qin's call to Fang Gusheng. This person was extremely arrogant and had a bad attitude. But now, Fang Gusheng's tone when he spoke to Bei Yunj seemed to be carefully trying to please her. This wasn't an illusion, right? Why are you looking for me? Bei Yunj was not interested in Fang Gusheng and did not even bat an eyelid. This is my name card. If you need anything in the future, you can contact me. Fang Gusheng put his business card in front of Bei Yunj and added, I can also come to Yunqing without charging you extra. Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow and glanced at him. Okay, thank you for your hard work, Dr. Fang. Seeing that Bei Yunj did not hold a grudge against him, Fang Gusheng heaved a sigh of relief and said with a smile, Miss Pei, you must be joking. It's my honor. Chapter 233. Even after Fang Gusheng left, old Master Qin was still staring at Bei Yunj in a daze. He felt that this granddaughter of his was a little unfamiliar. In the past, Gu was introverted and did not have many friends. However, the current Gu had a strong youthful aura and always gave off a high-spirited feeling. If it wasn't for this face, he would have suspected that the person in front of him was Gu. Qin Youjiao, who was outside the door, stopped Fang Gusheng, wanting to know what had happened. However, Fang Gusheng only left with a cold expression and did not say anything to her. Did Bei Yunj say something to Dr. Fang? Mrs. Qin clenched her fists and the first person she thought of was Bei Yunj. Mom, don't be anxious about this. Since she wants the doctor she knows to operate on Grandpa so much, let's wait and see. A dark look flashed past Qin Youjiao's eyes and she clenched her fists tightly. Jiao, I've wronged you. Mrs. Qin took Qin Youjiao's hand. Initially, Jiao had already found a doctor. She didn't know why Bei Yunj was so stubborn and insisted on finding another doctor herself. Mom, I don't care about this. I believe Yunj is doing this for Grandpa's own good. Qin Youjiao lowered her head and forced a smile. It's just that a few days ago, I submitted some documents to second brother's office and was eliminated in the first round. Second brother seems to have really changed. With Qin Youjiao's appearance and popularity, it was impossible for her to be eliminated in the first round. Upon hearing this, Mrs. Qin's temper flared. All of them are really rebelling. If it wasn't for old Master Qin inside, she wanted to question Bei Yunj now. What kind of magic potion did she give Qin Yu and Qin Lang? These two people were willing to sever ties with their family to protect her. Jiao, don't worry. They will still find out how good you are in the end. Mrs. Qin caressed her head lovingly. Qin Youjiao hugged Mrs. Qin. Mom, I only have you now. Silly child. At noon, Bei Yunj returned to school and cancelled her morning break. When she walked in from the classroom, she heard several girls discussing some emotional topics. Bei Yunj could only hear the boys' Adam's apple. Inexplicably, Bei Yunj suddenly thought of the situation last time. When class was about to start, Lu Yuanci came back with a basketball. Desk mate, Bei Yunj suddenly said. Lu Yuanci's eyes were somewhat guarded. What's wrong? If a guy's Adam's apple is touched, will he be very angry? It was also the first time Bei Yunj saw Huashidu's gaze. Hearing this, Lu Yuanci slowly relaxed, then sat on the chair and chuckled. How could I? What's there to be angry about? Lu Yuanci asked. Then why? Was he angry? Before Bei Yunj could finish her question, she felt Lu Yuanci's gaze on her. You touched someone else's Adam's apple? Lu Yuanci asked. Bei Yunj just looked at him without saying anything. Seeing this, Lu Yuanci denied himself and laughed. No, why did you touch someone else's Adam's apple for no reason? Bei Yunj was silent for a moment before she asked, will it be very serious? Lu Yuanci looked at her strangely and snorted lazily. Not really. It's just that it's easy for something to happen. What happened? Seeing that Bei Yunj was very concerned about this question, Lu Yuanci thought for a moment and changed his wording. You will want to have a new life with the person who touches your Adam's apple. Chapter 234. Bei Yunj froze. Lu Yuanci warned, don't do anything rash. Men are bad in this aspect. Most men might not reject such a thing even if they didn't like it. Suddenly, Bei Yunj seemed to understand why Huashidu's voice was a little hoarse at that time. Lu Yuanci said, Deskmate, your homework. Bei Yunj pushed the homework to him and turned around to calm himself down. Lu Yuanci was speechless. As expected of his deskmate, he was very cold. After school, Bei Yunj went to the A.M. Institute first. Just as Bei Yunj was teaching his two interns, a middle-aged man in a suit barged in. Is Miss Pei here? Bei Yunj raised his eyebrows and saw that his eyes were calm. After glancing at the two interns, he walked straight to the camera. I'm Delaney. Miss Pei should have some impression of me, right? The contract we discussed last time. At this moment, the door was pushed open again and Marcus's voice sounded. Delaney. He had finally stabilized Bei Yunj, but Delaney was looking for trouble at this time. Delaney, I'm warning you, don't anger me. Marcus also walked in front of Delaney, his face livid. Seeing this, Delaney was a little surprised. He had heard that Marcus treated the new member as a treasure, but he did not expect it to be to this extent. It looks like Bei Yunj is really important to our nation's computing institute. Delaney smiled and his gaze landed on the screen where Bei Yunj's face could not be seen. Miss Pei, can't you show your true face and talk? As soon as he finished speaking, Tich and Jasmine, who had been following Bei Yunj in class, held their breaths. They also wanted to know what their teacher looked like. There's nothing wrong with that. Bei Yunj's tone was lazy. Then, the camera panned and everyone saw Bei Yunj's eyes clearly. The girl had black hair and red lips. Her gaze was cold and her eyes were flirtatious with a faint smile. However, when she raised her eyebrows, she had a rebellious youthful vibe. She was unbelievably young and beautiful. Teacher, the two interns beside him were shocked. Their teacher was actually so young. He was too good-looking. If you want to sign the right to use it, look for Marcus to draw up a contract. Bei Yunj said indifferently. Are you Miss Pei? Delaney found it hard to believe that someone who could create such a project would be so young. He had seen many young geniuses, but he had never seen someone like Bei Yunj, who was aiming for the Busaka Prize at such a young age. Is there anything else? Bei Yunj looked up. When these words fell into the ears of the two interns, they automatically thought of Bei Yunj's daily sentence, do you have any more questions? This kind of precise control, impatient and threatening tone simply reminded them of the nightmares they had in class. Miss Pei, this should be your first time signing a contract, right? With such a price, very few people are willing to cooperate, Delaney said. Bei Yunj chuckled. After all, there aren't that many smart people. Delaney was speechless. He seemed to have been mocked. Miss Pei, if I don't do this project, who would dare to do it? Marcus and the two interns beside him felt their scalps go numb when they heard that Delaney dared to threaten Bei Yunj directly. Delaney, is there a lack of people in your circle who gamble with their lives? Bei Yunj teased. At the same time, Delaney subconsciously raised his head and froze. You. Chapter 235. Delaney clenched his fists and stared at Bei Yunj's face. Was this really a young lady in her 20s? Why was she more intelligent than those old researchers? It's up to you whether you want this contract or not. I've also said that after the project is completed, any company that wants the right to use it will have to pay double the fee. Bei Yunj was neither cold nor warm. Delaney was speechless. Forget about doing research. She would be a rare talent if she went back to the company with him. I'll sign it. Delaney gritted his teeth and only said these two words. As for the others, they quickly turned to look at the livid Delaney. He was going to sign it so soon? Didn't he still think that it was too expensive and that a dignified CEO was acting shamelessly? Yes, close the door. I have to go to class. Bei Yunj nodded without any psychological burden. Delaney, who wanted to curse, was speechless. In the end, Delaney still left weakly. Marcus, who was at the side, could not bear it and patted his shoulder to comfort him. There will be many opportunities to work together in the future. Delaney, who was stabbed in the back, almost had a distorted expression. Then Tich said carefully, Teacher. What's wrong? Bei Yunj flipped through the information and frowned. Why did he take so long to explain such a small amount of content? That Delaney just now is my father. Tich braced himself and admitted. Bei Yunj paused and looked up at him. You want to go home with him? Tich shook his head frantically. No, no, no. Teacher, I wanted to come to the research institute myself. I was afraid that you would feel pressured. Tich's voice became softer and softer. What if the teacher thought that he was here to be a spy? Bei Yunj did not even raise his head. Pressure? Write fewer strange reports and hand them to me. I'll feel less pressure. Tich was speechless. Jasmine was speechless. Sorry, it was their fault. Alright, let's continue with class. She glanced at them with a deep gaze. Bei Yunj felt that he was still too young and had not suffered the hardships of society. He actually agreed to Marcus's request to teach an intern and Marcus's little niece. At night, Bei Yunj came back late and did not see the man. Normally, Bei Yunj would have asked Auntie Miao first. But now, when Bei Yunj thought about touching his Adam's apple, she did not know how to face Hoshidu. Bei Yunj, what a bad move. She calmly took a deep breath and went upstairs. In front of the desk, Bei Yunj casually combed her black hair with a pen. Only a small strand of hair was left in front of her ears. How would I know that there was such a thing? Bei Yunj couldn't help muttering to herself as her slender fingers twirled the pen. But in the end, she still touched him. An hour later, Bei Yunj went downstairs to get some water. She didn't expect to see the man standing sideways at the long table pouring water. Brother? It was Bei Yunj's first time seeing Hoshidu wearing a black cotton shirt. It was very textured. The shirt was neatly tucked into his suit pants. His shoulders were wide and his waist was narrow. His long legs were too abstinent. However, at this moment, the man's eyes were deep. His posture was lazy and sexy. The two buttons on his collar were loose, revealing his exquisite collarbone. His entire person was lustful and frivolous. It was simply a criminal temptation. Huh. Chapter 236. Why was his hair wet? Bei Yunj saw that Hoshidu didn't say anything and looked at him again. The man's gaze was different too. The light in his eyes was completely hidden. It was ambiguous and dark, as if he was blatantly seducing her. Bei Yunj's gaze seemed to have been burned. She quickly looked away and asked, "Why is your hair wet? Did you drink?" He still smelled of alcohol. Bei Yunj frowned unconsciously and suddenly remembered something. The last time at the Qin family's old residence, Hoshidu seemed to have smelled of alcohol too, and he looked a little strange. Could it be that he couldn't drink? Don't tell me you fought with someone? Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes moved. Before she could finish speaking, the man suddenly leaned closer. He leaned over and looked straight at her. He said casually, "It's little Yunyun." Bei Yunj's heart suddenly beat faster when she was suddenly stared at like that. Forget it. Bei Yunj didn't intend to ask further. She pulled the man's sleeve and wanted to bring him upstairs. Who knew? The man suddenly grabbed her wrist with one hand and leaned lazily on the long table. He reached out to her head again. "You." Before Bei Yunj could finish speaking, Hoshidu suddenly took off the fountain pen that was coiled around Bei Yunj's hair. At that moment, Bei Yunj's black hair scattered, but her sparkling eyes were staring at him. The man seemed to be in a good mood. His eyes darkened even more, and his magnetic and pleasant laughter sounded in a low voice. "Call me brother and I'll return it to you." Bei Yunj looked at his wet hair and said gently, "Are you going to take a shower later?" Suddenly, Bei Yunj was gently knocked on the head. "You only want to take advantage of me all day long?" The handsome and noble man's posture was light and lazy. His voice was long, as if he wanted to seduce her. Bei Yunj was speechless. Hence, Bei Yunj's good temper in her life was almost used up today. In the bedroom, after Bei Yunj blew Hoshidu's hair, she could tell that Hoshidu's voice was a little hoarse and magnetic. It seemed that he had caught a cold. He didn't know what was going on today. Bei Yunj recalled the scene just now and her eyelids twitched. "Brother, why do you like to bully people after drinking?" The man didn't answer. It also attracted Bei Yunj's attention. "Brother, I'll get you some hot water to take a bath. Don't go out." Bei Yunj softened her tone again. "You've caught a cold. You have to get better soon, right?" The man's eyes fell on her without an inch of avoidance. Seeing her bright eyes looking at him, his eyes unconsciously darkened. Yes. Huashidu's voice was low and magnetic. Seeing this, before Bei Yunj could breathe a sigh of relief, she suddenly heard a voice coming from downstairs. It was very light, but it gradually became clear. Shidu? Shidu? Old Madame Hua must have gone upstairs. When Bei Yunj heard this, she was about to walk out of the door when she suddenly remembered that this was Huashidu's bedroom. Bei Yunj was speechless. At this time, if she went out, old Madame Hua might get engaged to her brother at the end of the year. Thinking of old Madame Hua's urgent mood, Bei Yunj felt that she could not let old Madame Hua see her in the bedroom. However, she did not know what would happen if she left Huashidu alone here. Bei Yunj turned her head and looked at Huashidu for a long time. She only thought of one idea. After the old madam went upstairs. Chapter 237. Alas, let's go find sister. Mo pulled Alas and discussed in a childish voice. Alas tilted his head as if he didn't understand anything and just circled around his little master. Grandma, I'm going to find sister. Mo held Alas's hand and said happily. Go, go. Old Madame Hua frowned. After turning on the lights, she only saw the hairdryer on the table. She muttered to herself, why isn't he here? He should have just come back. Old Madame Hua muttered in the bedroom and walked around. At this moment, Bei Yunj was huddled in the corner of the closet. Her entire body was a little stiff, but she couldn't move for fear of being discovered. The more she thought about it, the more she couldn't understand what the person who hid in the closet was thinking. Wasn't he sullen? Until Bei Yunj's ear suddenly felt an itchy heat. The man's low and magnetic voice was lazy and sexy. It made her ears burn. Yun, sit on brother's lap. Bei Yunj's entire body froze, and her heart beat uncontrollably fast. Brother, you. Before Bei Yunj could finish speaking, the man suddenly pulled her over. Her whole body was trapped in his arms, sitting on his lap. The pleasant cold fragrance around her was mixed with the smell of alcohol. The quiet and secluded space was filled with a sense of taboo. Before she could break free, she heard a low laughter in her ear again. It was ostentatious and ambiguous, making one's heart tremble. Yun, do you want brother to recover faster from his cold? This time, all of Bei Yunj's calmness and self-control were shattered. This man today was simply asking for her life. Not long after, Mo returned. Grandma, sister isn't here either. Mo pursed his lips and said. It wasn't easy for him to come and see his sister. Alright, baby. Maybe your brother took sister Pei out to play. Old Madame Hua coaxed, let's go back first, okay? But I want to wait for sister. Mo hesitated. Suddenly, Alas broke free from Mo's hand and ran towards the closet. He held a floral ribbon in his mouth and pulled it out happily. It was as if he had discovered something incredible. Inside the closet, Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. She could only take a deep breath and take off her coat. She was completely unaware that in this narrow and dim environment, the man's eyes fell on her without hiding anything, and his eyes gradually darkened. Mo, what is Alas talking about? Old Madame Hua was puzzled. I'll go take a look. Mo quickly ran over and found that Alas was pulling a floral ribbon. It looked a little like the belt on Sister Pei's clothes. Mo? What is Eris doing? After old Madame Hua asked, she was about to walk over again. Grandma, it's nothing. Momo blinked and glanced at the wardrobe. Finally, she secretly pulled the tape from Alyssa's mouth. Eris, we should go home. There's roast chicken tonight. After Mo finished speaking, Alyssa gave up on the idea of the belt. It happily rubbed its little master's cheek. Seeing that old Madame Hua had finally left, Bei Yunj also breathed a sigh of relief. She liked Mo more and more. Fortunately, there was MOMO otherwise. If she was discovered, she was really afraid that old Madame Huo would contact her old master on the spot. However, when Bei Yunj thought of this man's actions just now, her eyelids could not help but twitch. You did it on purpose. Bei Yunj stared at Huashidu and said expressionlessly. The man leaned lazily against the wooden board. Huh. Chapter 238. Bei Yunj was speechless. Seeing this, the man's low and hoarse laughter was hopelessly sexy. Yun, what's wrong? Bei Yunja's eyebrows moved. She wanted to stand up, but she tripped over something in the dark and fell back into the man's arms. Bei Yunj seemed to have accidentally poked the man's firm abdomen. She heard him grunt softly, making her blush and her heart race. Brother, Before Bei Yunj could finish explaining, she met the man's eyes. The man leaned against the wooden board. His gaze was frivolous and his eyes were dark. His entire aura was lustful and deadly. However, at this moment, Bei Yunj started to notice the man's Adam's apple through the dark light. But in the next moment, Bei Yunj quickly looked away. Seeing this, the man's lips curled up imperceptibly. Before Bei Yunj could react, he suddenly leaned closer. He lowered his voice and laughed cynically. Where did you touch me just now, little greedy cat? At this moment, Bei Yunj was really about to explode. The next day, Huashidu woke up very early. However, when he was reading the newspaper downstairs and waiting for Bei Yunj to come downstairs to eat, he saw the little girl glance at him and sit down at the table. Thank you, Aunt Meow. After Bei Yunj thanked Aunt Meow, who brought the dishes over, she continued eating. Huashidu did not know how he had offended this child. During the meal, Huashidu scooped the porridge slowly, but his gaze was fixed on Bei Yunj. Yun, I'm full. Brother, eat slowly. Bei Yunj suddenly stood up and smiled at him. With that said, Bei Yunj took her backpack and left. The man tapped his fingertips on the table and thought for a moment. Aunt Meow, what's wrong with Yun? Aunt Meow, Sir, I'm sorry, I'm not too sure about this either. My child had a high fever last night, so I cooked dinner and went home. Huashidu narrowed his eyes. Yes, it's fine. Maybe she's not in a good mood. Sir, you can coax her more. Miss Pei is quite cute. I like her very much too. Auntie Meow smiled. Yes, she's cute. He laughed casually. When a little girl is angry, she's like a cat with its fur standing on end. However, he had a feeling that there was something that made the little girl so unhappy. On this day, the sensation that spread from abroad to within the country shocked everyone. Even the top 3 on the headlines were slaughtered. Hashtag Delaney Group's new technology hashtag country our computing institute, Delaney Group hashtag don't say knowledge can't change fate hashtag in the past, news from the scientific research community rarely made it to the top of the list. But this time, it really shocked everyone. As the most high-end technology group abroad, the Delaney Group had actually signed more than 1 billion yuan worth of technology rights. If converted to their country's currency, it would be 10 billion. Furthermore, the usage period was only 5 years. Even the Delaney Group, which was famous for being stingy, had been ruthlessly squeezed dry. This made the netizens excited. No way, 10 billion. Back then, those who said that they were doing scientific research and didn't earn much came over and counted. How many zeros are there? What a ruthless move. Ha, I heard that she's the new ace member of Country R's Computing Institute. And she's a young lady from our country. Chapter 239. Our country? This is too glorious. To be honest, the only person our country can really produce is Zhong Xinglin, she shouldn't be young anymore. It's a little weird to call her a little sister, I want to argue. Then why didn't she stay in the country? Is the air overseas sweeter? Question, I'm convinced. There's even a contrarian here. Did he lose his mind from chasing celebrities? Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Are you treating the big boss as a popular celebrity? Take care of your street, understand? At the Computing Institute. Old master, look at this news. Is it talking about our master Pei? After interacting with Bei Yunj, Si Qingyan's relationship was quite good. He did not care that Bei Yunj was a few years younger than him. What the hell? Zhong Xinglin put on his glasses and scanned the news. His old face darkened and he started to gnash his teeth. That B** starred really got off easy. F***CK. It's really Master Pei? Si Qingyan was shocked. Zhong Xinglin slapped the back of Si Qingyan's head. New member, new member. In the past 2 years, other than her, has Country R's Computing Institute recruited anyone else? He was heartbroken again. Look at you again. You're also a new member, but you joined our institute a year or 2 earlier. What did you do? She entered the institute for a month and gave Country R's Computing Institute a 10 billion yuan project. She made the headlines and was in the limelight. What about you? Si Qingyan was speechless. Not everyone would be able to get 10 billion in their lifetime, okay? Zhong Xinglin's gaze became even more determined. No, I have to poach her as soon as possible. This was really a mistake of 100 million yuan per second. Not only Zhong Xinglin, even Stephen, who was hiding in his office and eating instant noodles, was speechless. Was Marcus's luck exploding? Why was their institute so lucky this year? Cheng Zihuai, who had also seen this explosive news, had a dark gaze. Zihuai, what are you thinking about? Qin Youjiao smiled. She had just finished styling herself when she saw the news on Cheng Zihuai's phone screen. Qin Youjiao raised an eyebrow and teased deliberately, I wonder how old a female researcher with such achievements is. But I believe that you will be able to do the same in the future. Hearing this, Cheng Zihuai did not agree. He was indeed talented, but that was only when compared to ordinary people. The ace member of the Computing Institute of Country R was one of the rarest of geniuses. There was no way she could be compared to her. Zihuai, what's wrong? Why are you so unhappy? Qin Yushao asked with a coy smile. Cheng Zihuai snapped back to his senses and shook his head. You know this person too. I know? Qin Youjiao froze. Cheng Zihuai clenched his fists and pursed his lips. It's the teacher I wanted to follow before. This is her project. These words surprised Qin Youjiao as well. She had never thought that the teacher Cheng Zihuai wanted to follow would have such ability. It was no wonder that Cheng Zihuai had been depressed for so long when he did not get this connection back then. However, after seeing this news, Cheng Zihuai was probably not in a good mood now. After all, if he had become this person's student back then, the Cheng family would have risen because of this person. She's too arrogant. Chapter 240. Qin Youjiao said with a frown. Ranwu Pavilion, hearing this, no matter how unbalanced Cheng Zihuai felt, he knew very well that if that person wanted students, there would indeed be a large number of outstanding students willing to follow her. She's indeed amazing. Cheng Zihuai's eyes darkened, but he was thinking about something else. Marcus had told him that this person was also in Yuncheng. So, if he found this person, there might be a chance for her to accept him. Zihuai, I believe you'll be like her in the future, Qin Youjiao said with a smile. Hearing this, Cheng Zihuai caressed her head and said with a smile, aren't you going to do a live stream? Go do the live stream first. I've already informed a few uncles I know in advance. If there are any resources, I'll push them to you first. Zihuai, you're so good to me. Qin Youjiao said coquettishly. Until Friday. The headlines started to be related to the Qin family again. The reason was that Qin Youjiao had accidentally revealed during the live stream that Bei Yunj had chased away Fang Gusheng and found another, famous doctor, to operate on old Master Qin. The moment this news came out, many netizens started to scold Bei Yunj for being unfilial. No matter how much she fought with Qin Youjiao, there was no need to take the old master's life lightly. Then, the marketing account of Qin Youjiao's contract company even exposed all sorts of things. They said that Bei Yunj did this for the family assets. Because old Master Qin liked Bei Yunj, most of the Qin family's assets were left to Bei Yunj. With this news, more people were filled with righteous indignation. *CK, old Master Qin likes her so much. Is she crazy? My heart aches for old Master Qin. If this is true, the Qin family has really attracted an ingrate. Qin Youjiao was scolded so badly a while ago. She's cleared her name now. Isn't it too fast? Indeed, this elder young miss wants to debut. The moment a certain someone debuted, she wanted to trample on another young lady no matter what. I don't know what illness she has. Jealousy? Confused, the two people above, let's earn money together. Back then, Qin Youjiao was the one who apologized and was even scolded. I think the real scheming person is that young lady who has never appeared before, right? Relying on Director Lin to clear her name, I feel bad that Director Lin still has to use her reputation to clean up the mess for some people in her later years. Not long after, more insiders began to reveal the truth. Director Lin's character is impeccable. However, if some people did not want to learn well, it would be useless even if the Daluo Immortal personally taught them. She's the daughter of Director Lin, but she's actually at the bottom of the level. Qin Youjiao is already second in the level. Gradually, the public's impression of Bei Yunj began to decline. In the office. Jiao, the company has already arranged for someone to follow Bei Yunj. When the time comes, we will be able to get a picture of who she invited for the surgery. But, are you sure that she won't hire any experts? The manager asked with a smile. Qin Youjiao drank the black tea and smiled at her. Are you sure that there's someone in the country who's better than Fang Gusheng in this aspect? Although she did not know why Fang Gusheng had left in anger, this might be because Bei Yunj had played some tricks. That's good. As long as you trample on her, your image as a young lady will be stable. Hearing this, the smile on Qin Youjiao's face froze. The word image had hit her where it hurt. Her eyes darkened as she pursed her lips. The young lady of the Qin family did not need Bei Yunj's existence, she would make this person disappear. Same as the Almighty. Chapter 241. However. Calligraphy Pavilion. More good. What made Qin Youjiao even more uneasy was that she seemed to be the only one in the entire industry who knew that Yu Manran was actually the eldest young lady of the Yu family. At that time, if Yu Manran's identity was exposed, it would probably affect her quite a bit. Sister, do you know Yu Manran? Qin Youjiao asked calmly. Yes. I don't know where she found a composer this year. She became popular with just one song and her popularity is higher than the A-list now. Even they had their sights set on the composer. However, they could not get any information at all. It was said that it was someone Yu Manran knew. Sister, can you find that composer? Qin Youjiao said with a smile, she can bid as much as she wants. I want her to write a song for me. In the evening. When Stephen found out about this, he was so angry that smoke was coming out of his head. I'm a pheasant expert. Did you hear that? Did you hear what old Zhong said? *CK, I'm going to sue those keyboard warriors. Stephen's face flushed red. He had never suffered such grievances in his life. Inspector, calm down. Our institute hasn't earned 1 billion yuan, where would we get so much money to sue? The assistant immediately said gently. Stephen was speechless. If this brat hadn't been with him for so many years, he really wanted to fire him. Miss Pei said that Dr. Fong went to post an explanation. Don't be anxious. When they know who did the surgery, they won't dare to be so impudent. That's true. At this thought, Stephen's mood improved. He laughed coldly. A bunch of ignorant brats. I want to see if they still dare to talk nonsense when they know who they are scolding. Seeing Stephen's noble and cold expression, the assistant's eyelids twitched. Yes, you're right. What happened this time was beyond his expectations. Fang Gusheng, who had just gotten off work and was about to have a candlelit dinner with his wife, was shocked. Then, his face darkened. Who was the one who complained that his life was too comfortable? Did they have to drag him out and be mocked by the entire internet? However, not long after. The internet was still in a heated discussion. Following this, Fang Gusheng's clarification video became the focus of everyone's attention as soon as it was released. It was crazily viewed and forwarded. Fang Gusheng, who was shooting the video, was wearing ordinary clothes. He didn't look too good, but he said a few words politely. He had confirmed that the attending doctor hired by Bei Yunj was indeed more experienced than he was. He hoped that everyone could relax and stop attacking others. However, as the number of views of this video increased, there were actually people who started the momentum. Dr. Fang doesn't look too well, a certain heiress is 666. How could she threaten an innocent doctor? Just look at it. He's very reluctant to shoot a video. Is there anyone else who will wash Bei Yunja's clothes? Dr. Fang, blink when you're being threatened. We support you. Stephen sat in front of the computer and translated the comments one by one. His expression gradually turned ugly. These people really wanted to satisfy their own fantasies. Everything was said according to what they thought. There's no need to be angry, Stephen. They hate me, not you. Bei Yunj smiled lazily. That won't do. What right do they have to criticize you? Stephen was so angry that his face darkened. He might as well. He found the official social media account of Country A that the Our Nation Medical Institute had registered a few years ago. Guru Tong. Chapter 242. Stephen sneered. I'd like to see what else they can make up. After that, Stephen hung up the phone after exchanging a few more words with Bei Yunj. Calligraphy Pavilion more good. She couldn't wait for those stupid humans to open their eyes wide and take a good look at who the pheasant expert they were talking about was. Bei Yunja's eyelids twitched when she was hung up on. She sent a message to her assistant to remind Stephen to board the plane. Not long after. She thought for a moment, opened the social media app, and scrolled through the headlines. She clicked on it and saw that the first post was a video about Dr. Fang. However, just as everyone was scolding Dr. Fang, someone suddenly noticed that a big shot had liked the video. They clicked on the profile picture and found that it was a verified official account. Country R's Medical Research Institute. Everyone? What was going on? Why would Country R's Medical Research Institute like Dr. Fang when they had nothing to do with him? Then, just as they were feeling uneasy, they saw that the official account that had not been updated for a few years suddenly reposted Dr. Fang's clarification post. What was going on? Could it be that the expert Bei Yunj hired was from Country R's Medical Research Institute? Many people couldn't help but gasp when they saw this. However, they were also puzzled. How did Bei Yunj know someone from Country R's Medical Research Institute? Could it be that it was also because of Director Lin? Director Lin's social circle was too wide, wasn't it? Because Country R's Medical Research Institute had publicly reposted the video, Qin Youjiao's team, who was manipulating public opinion, didn't know what to do for a moment. They could only wait and see. At this time, the netizens were also confused. I've checked. Director Stephen of Country R's Medical Research Institute is an expert in this field. He's a world-famous expert. Oh my God, Bei Yunj is too amazing, isn't she? What does this have to do with Bei Yunj? Even if it is, it's Director Lin's credit. Don't joke around. Do you believe it? Everyone in the circle knows that Stephen's surgery volume is limited in a year. Even if Bei Yunj is booked, it won't be this year. Stephen even performed surgery for her family. The Qin family is nothing in the world. Do you understand? The person above is harsh, but it's the truth. Stephen's number of surgeries is limited. This year's patients were confirmed in March. Bei Yunj skimmed through these comments and returned to the Computing Institute. Master Pei, quick, quick. Come and take a look at my project. See if there's anything that can be improved. The moment he saw Bei Yunj, Si Chengyan enthusiastically pulled Bei Yunj to his research lab. Brat, stop right there. Zhong Xinglin suddenly appeared and immediately separated the two of them. Take care of your own projects. Don't take shortcuts. With that said, Zhong Xinglin looked at Bei Yunj gently. Yunj, I heard that the contract you signed with Marcus is for 3 months. When Si Chengyan heard this topic, he knew what the old master was up to again. He had not managed to poach her after so long. He even complained that he was hindering him from poaching her. After Si Chengyan left, Bei Yunj smirked. I was in urgent need of money back then, so I signed for 3 months. What about now? Zhong Xinglin asked urgently. Elder Zhong, you can see that Marcus is very good to me, said Lin Feng. Bei Yunj's eyes curved. So, at least for now, I can't think about this. Same as the Almighty. Chapter 243. Bei Yunj's meaning was clear. She was indebted to Marcus for recognizing her worth. Even if she had not promised Marcus that she would stay in their institute in the future, at least she could not decide to come to the Computing Institute at this time. Hearing this, Zhong Xinglin's heart ached even more. What kind of luck did Marcus have? He really met someone like Bei Yunj, who was sentimental about old ties. Yunj, I understand what you mean. But if you choose the Domestic Computing Institute, I sincerely hope that you can choose our Computing Institute first. Zhong Xinglin smiled. Although I might not be able to offer the generous conditions that Marcus offered, it's a private computing institute. If you're willing, I hope you can be my successor. With that said, Bei Yunj's eyelashes fluttered and she looked up at him again. Usually, even if it was a private research institute, it seemed that more people would want their children to inherit it. Just like in her previous life, as a well-known physicist in the industry, Mrs. Pei had also nurtured Bei Yunj in that area, hoping that Bei Yunj would inherit her physics institute. In the end, Bei Yunj secretly opened a computing institute herself. Because of this, Mrs. Pei was so angry that she did not speak to Bei Yunj for a month. Thank you, Elder Zhong. Bei Yunj said with a smile. You don't have to be too stressed. My grandson is indeed studying computing, but his aptitude is average and he can't control the Computing Institute. What I hope more is that the Computing Institute can be passed down and walk towards glory. Zhong Xinglin looked at the long term and focused more on the computing industry in Country A. As for his grandson, he had also left behind a lot of family assets, enough for them to live in peace for the rest of their lives. Saturday. Bei Yunj went to the airport and received her quietly. About 10:30 p.m. A tall middle-aged man with blonde hair and blue eyes came out. Bei Yunj recognized Stephen at a glance from the photos online. At the same time, although Stephen had just gotten off the plane, he was still refreshed. He said excitedly and happily, "Tisk, let's walk faster. Maybe Yunj is waiting." The assistant was speechless. "She's not your granddaughter. Why are you so happy to see her?" Suddenly, Stephen and Selena saw a beautiful young girl walking towards them. Bei Yunj took off her mask, revealing her delicate and beautiful face. She smiled and said, "Stephen, we finally meet." Stephen froze when he heard this familiar voice. This was Yunj. Stephen could not come back to his senses for a long time. He had heard Marcus brag that their Yunj was especially beautiful and did not believe it for a moment. But now, this standard Oriental beauty's face was really hard to find fault with. Especially the bright and beautiful expression between her eyebrows, it was unforgettable. Yunj, I really didn't expect you to look like this. After a while, Stephen couldn't help but laugh. Let's go. I'll be a good host and take the two of you to dinner. Bei Yunj chuckled. Sure. This Yun city is really not bad. Stephen laughed loudly. However, in the corner, a sneaky young man secretly took a picture of Bei Yunj and Stephen walking together. However, what he did not expect was that Bei Yunj did not bring her to the hospital. Instead, they went to a scenic spot to play. He thought for a moment and called Qin Youjiao's manager to tell her about this. You don't have to let me see it. Just post it online. Just say that Bei Yunj hired a quack overseas and is eating, drinking, and having fun with others. She doesn't take old Master Qin's illness to heart. Chapter 244. This. What if he's not a quack? The young man could not help but hesitate. Then we have to post it even more. The manager chuckled. If that person cures old Master Qin, what's the point of posting it? On the other hand, if we do this, more people will think that Bei Yunj is gambling. I got it. The young man nodded and stopped following Bei Yunj and the rest. Inspector, Miss Pei, someone followed us and took photos secretly just now. With that said, Stephen, who was eating soup dumplings, almost choked. Why didn't you say so earlier? At this moment, Bei Yunj said slowly, I saw it. It's alright, I'll delete it later. When she said this, those who didn't know would almost think that Bei Yunj was planning to delete her post. Only Stephen vaguely remembered how Bei Yunj made the headlines back then. There's no need for that. Stephen patted his chest, his expression confident. Don't worry, leave this to me. Then, Stephen pulled Bei Yunj and his assistant along and took a photo as a souvenir. Soon, he posted it on his social media app and Marcus's phone. Soon, Marcus sent messages crazily. You went for a meal with Yunj? Are you there? Let me show you Yunj's Computing Institute identity card. Smile, how childish. Do you think I can be angry? Boring. Huh, I've blocked you. Goodbye, brother. After reading this long string of messages, the corners of Stephen's lips twitched. Wasn't this childish enough? He wasn't angry. In the afternoon. In the ward. Dad, I've said it before. This isn't a child who grew up in our family after all. We don't know her background. You're still. Before Mrs. Qin could finish speaking, she was interrupted by old Master Qin. If you continue to spout nonsense, I'll get Qin Ting to send you back to your parents' home. These words made Mrs. Qin open her mouth with an ugly expression, but she didn't know what to say. Are you still worthy of being a mother? You're so righteous even when you talk bad about your daughter. Shameless. Once old Master Qin was angered, he felt dizzy. The nurse beside him quickly comforted old Master Qin, telling him not to get angry. Mrs. Qin pursed her lips and said, but the news on the internet was also taken by someone else. It can't be that someone deliberately tried to harm her. Who took it? I'll get my lawyer to sue him right now. Upon hearing old Master Qin's words, Mother Qin's face turned green and red. She was speechless. She couldn't hope for Grandpa Sheng to come to his senses. Hey, this person looks familiar, the nurse suddenly said. Mrs. Qin's eyes lit up. You know him? Who is it? Old Master Qin glanced at Mrs. Qin. Disgust flashed across his eyes, and he closed his eyes impatiently. Let me think. The nurse racked her brains and felt that this person looked very familiar. A few minutes later, Mrs. Qin became a little anxious. She suddenly exclaimed, I remember now. This is Stephen. What Stephen? Mrs. Chin suddenly had a bad premonition. The director of Country R's Medical Institute, Stephen. The nurse looked at old Master Chin enviously. Mr. Stephen rarely takes on surgeries. This year, his surgeries are full. Miss Pei must have put in a lot of effort for you. She's so good to you. She's a filial girl. Upon hearing this, Mrs. Chin's face turned pale and her eyes lost focus. How could this be? How could Bei Yunj invite such a person? Chapter 245. Could it be Director Lin? But how could Director Lin have such a wide network? Look, this is someone who can even step on her own daughter. Old Master Chin laughed coldly. Mrs. Chin wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end, she could only bite her lip with a red face and remain silent. At this moment, a group of netizens who did not know the situation were about to tear into each other. A certain young lady is really interesting to go out and play with an old man at this time. I really feel bad for Director Lin. Even if you blow up your account this time, I still want to scold you. You just can't compare to Qin Youjiao. Don't you know that? Why are you scolding Bei Yunj? A group of people are confused and think that they are righteous. Don't you know how to write the word cyberbullying? This kind of B***TCH should have such extravagance. If you have the ability, blow up my account. The matter was full of twists and turns, and it was getting more and more confusing. However, under the guidance of Qin Youjiao's marketing team, it still went in the direction they wanted. However, it wasn't long before another shocking scene appeared. A few minutes later, Qin Yu, who had been filming overnight for 2 days, immediately reposted that post when he saw it. Qin Yu? Smile. As for Qin Lang, who was training and had his phone confiscated, there was no movement. However, to everyone's surprise, Qin Lang's studio reposted Qin Yu's comment immediately after. Crushed Qin Lang's studio? Smile. In less than a minute, the comments exploded. Ha 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 ha, they're here. They're here. They're here with the anger of a sister complex. It's about to start. Is Brother Lang's studio trying to make me laugh to death? Xiao sure, I'll protect Brother Lang's sister. Reporting, second sister-in-law's fans have gathered. Reporting, will gather again after third sister-in-law's fans finish eating. Sob sob sob, dog head, I'm speechless. So what if you have a best actor brother and an esports player brother? Are you relying on your fans to clear your name? I'm scared, I'm scared. You have a lot of fans and you're awesome, okay? Entertainers are ruining the country. Entertainers are ruining the country. Qin Yu and Qin Lang had many fans, but more importantly, this matter made people have a bad impression of Bei Yunj. As a result, some of Qin Yu and Qin Lang's fans were still persuading them to delete this post. After all, it was really too much. But who knew? At this moment, a certain group that was usually rarely active suddenly reposted Qin Yu's post as if they had agreed. Research Institute, Zhongxinglin. Smile, Dean of Biology of Yuncheng University. Smile, the former principal of Yuncheng University. Smile, Professor Yu Guang. Smile, Yuncheng University Medical Dean. Smile, our nation's Medical Research Institute. Smile, this scene made one's scalp tingle. Everyone? Did he break through the dimension? What was going on? Was half of the scientific research community mobilized? Soon. Everyone saw that Country R's Medical Research Institute had reposted someone's post. Our nation's Medical Research Institute, Heart, our nation's Medical Research Institute, Stephen, my friend and me, picture. At this moment, everyone was shocked. So, the old man who was rumored to be having fun with Bei Yunj was Stephen, the director of the Our Nation's Medical Institute? F***CK. What a deity. DBQ Mr. Stephen, I actually didn't recognize you. Is Bei Yunj a big boss harvester? Chapter 246. Lin Lanjun is her grandmother, and Stephen is her friend. The moment something happened to her, half of the scientific research field and two cis-obsessed brothers protected her. I'm so jealous, I'm jealous, I'm jealous. Goodbye, I'm starting to understand why Dr. Fong's expression isn't too good. This isn't an expert, but an ancestor. The one who offended him is the ancestor, the biological daughter of the big shots? The little darling of the brothers? Please, Master Pei, write an autobiography of the group's love. The moment Qin Youjiao debuted, Bei Yunj was scolded and became a trending topic, isn't that so? You're trying your best to push Bei Yunj away, but she's really loved by the group. On the internet, the people who had followed the trend to slander Bei Yunj seemed to have disappeared without a trace. On the contrary, only the haters who had started to slander Qin Youjiao were left. In the office, Qin Youjiao's expression was terrible and she wanted to smash her phone. She never thought that this matter would take such an unrealistic turn that was even more unrealistic than a dream. Jiao, this is quite unexpected. But don't worry, the company's public relations are already handling it. Don't worry. The manager was also anxious, but Qin Youjiao had just signed with their company, so it was not good for her to act like she was flustered. Thank you, sister. Qin Youjiao's expression improved slightly. At least, she still had a company behind her now, so she would not be too outnumbered. At the Hua Corporation. Tseng Su, apart from telling you about the parent-teacher conference last time, what else did Yunyun say? Hua Shidu thought of how the little girl was throwing a tantrum and asked casually. I think so. With that said, Tseng Su saw that his Master Du seemed to be thinking about something. Master Du, did you have a fight with Miss Pei? Hua Shidu glanced at him and did not say anything. This situation made it difficult for Tseng Su to understand. However, Tseng Su suddenly remembered what had happened in the past 2 days. Master Du, have you seen the recent headlines? What's wrong? Hua Shidu looked up and asked. It's that Miss Pei was maliciously slandered. However, the two young masters of the Qin family and some seniors in the scientific research field are very protective of Miss Pei. Currently, this matter has been resolved. Tseng Su couldn't help but exclaim when he thought of the melon he had eaten. Especially the phrase, Big Boss Harvester, it was simply very popular. Aside from the big shots they knew, if anyone else found out that this little princess was living in the home of the president of the Hua Corporation, they would probably have a mental breakdown. Malicious? Hua Shidu's pale-colored eyes gradually turned cold and deep. There was an unfathomable danger in them. It's the tricks of the entertainment industry. The other Miss Qin of the Qin family has signed with an entertainment company. I'm guessing that the entertainment company is personally involved. After Tseng Su finished speaking, he added carefully, Master Du, do you need me to show my face? Next time. This would also prevent those people from thinking that Miss Pei had no one backing her. There's no need. Hua Shidu narrowed his eyes nonchalantly. His deep voice was emotionless. You caused trouble for my child. How can there be a second chance? Hearing this, Tseng Su immediately understood. Master Du didn't intend to let that company continue to operate. Tseng Su, okay. When he returned, Hua Shidu saw the young lady quickly greeting him and going upstairs. He didn't even look up when he was eating. The next day, Bei Yunj had just gone downstairs when she saw Yu Hanran and Hua Shidu sitting together. Before she could leave, she heard the man say, Yunyun. Chapter 247. At this moment, Yu Hanran also noticed Bei Yunj. He had a teasing look in his eyes, wanting to see how this couple interacted every day. From Hua Shidu's casual question, the two of them seemed to be quarreling. What's wrong? Bei Yunj turned around and looked at him with curved eyes. Come here. Hearing this, Bei Yunj glanced at him and then glanced at Yu Hanran, who was waiting for a good show. She walked towards Huashidu. When Huashidu saw this, the corners of his lips curled up slightly. He stood up and narrowed his eyes casually. He held her wrist with one hand and took off the rubber band. It's too hot outside. With that said, Huashidu stood in front of the girl and reached out. His slender and well-defined fingers gently lifted her curly hair and slowly tied it up for the girl. This scene made the smile on Yu Hanran's face freeze. Wait a minute. Shouldn't they be quarreling? Why did he let him see such a scene? After tying her ponytail, Bei Yunj glanced at Huashidu. Actually, she had long lost her temper. I'm going to the hospital. I'll be back later. Bei Yunj touched her hair. Okay. Huashidu curled his lips and reached out to rub her jawline. Yu Hanran was speechless. Hey, guys, am I invisible? In the morning. Stephen was undergoing surgery. Almost 4 hours later, the door to the operating theater opened. The surgery was very successful. Old Master will be fine after resting well. The other doctor smiled and could not help but say to Bei Yunj, it's all thanks to Miss Pei that I have the chance to share the stage with Mr. Stephen. You must be joking. Bei Yunj smiled. However, in the eyes of the Qin couple, this scene caused them to have complicated feelings. They had always felt that Bei Yunj was a loner and had no friends. They did not expect her to be friends with Stephen. They did not know how they got to know each other. It's been hard on you this time. Mr. Qin stepped forward and said gently. Bei Yunj's tone was indifferent. It's my duty. The smile on Mr. Qin's face froze. Of course, he knew that Bei Yunj was so attentive because of old Master Li, otherwise, if it were him or Mother Qin, Bei Yunj probably wouldn't even look at them. Mr. Qin's eyes darkened. Yuan Jiaojiao, Yunj, isn't it time to go eat? Stephen's voice sounded. Bei Yunj turned around and saw that Stephen was still in good spirits. She smiled and said, well, I have a friend later. Do you mind? What's there to mind? Stephen said and went to change his clothes. The two of them chatted in a familiar tone, as if they were old friends. However, the age difference was a little too big. Mr. Qin, if there's nothing else, I'll go back first. Mr. Qin reacted and quickly nodded. Okay. Be careful, Next. Even after Bei Yunj left, Mr. Qin's expression was still gloomy. Mrs. Qin stepped forward and said angrily. Didn't I ask you to tell her to put in a good word for Jiao Jiao? Hearing this, Mr. Qin felt annoyed for no reason. Gu is the one who suffers every time. Why must she listen to me? With that said, Mrs. Qin was stunned for a moment. She could not imagine that these words would come from his mouth. Qin Ting, what do you mean? Bei Yunj is your daughter, but Jiao Jiao isn't? Mrs. Qin suddenly became agitated. She's my daughter to begin with. Mr. Qin reprimanded angrily. Chapter 248. Mrs. Qin's eyes widened as she stared at Mr. Qin in disbelief. Alright, you don't want Jiao Jiao anymore? Mr. Qin was furious. Look at what Jiao Jiao has become. She didn't do it on purpose the first time, but what about the second and third time? Every time something happens to Gu, it's related to her. How can I believe her? With that said, suddenly, the sound of something falling to the ground sounded not far away. Mr. and Mrs. Qin turned around and saw Qin Yojiao looking at Mr. Qin in disbelief and grievance with red eyes. At this moment, Mr. Qin panicked inexplicably. After all, this was the child he had doted on for almost 20 years. Jiao Jiao, Qin Yojiao turned around and ran away with red eyes. It's all your fault. How can Bei Yunj compare to Jiao Jiao? Why are all of you slowly standing on her side? Mrs. Qin's heart ached. Looking at the thermos box that had fallen to the ground, she immediately went forward to pick it up. Jiao Jiao is a filial child. If she hears what you said, she will definitely be very sad. Mrs. Qin panicked as well. For a moment, Mr. Qin felt complicated and guilty. He could only turn his face away and pinch the space between his eyebrows tiredly. How could he not want to have a happy family? However, it just so happened that he had carried the wrong child back then. Now, facing his two daughters, he did not know what to do. At noon, Chu Zhixing stood at the entrance of the hospital and waited, feeling inexplicably nervous. Until Bei Yunzhe's voice sounded. Xiao Chu. Chu Zhixing turned around and saw Bei Yunzhe walking over alone. Yunzhe, how's Grandpa Qin? The surgery was very successful. However, Bei Yunzhe was a little surprised that Chu Zhixing's first concern was her grandfather. She thought that this fellow should be more concerned about Country R's medical institute. That's good. Chu Zhixing heaved a sigh of relief and nodded. Oh right, who is the person you said you like from Country R's medical institute? Bei Yunzhe asked again. Hearing this, Chu Zhixing became even more nervous. Mr. Stephen. Bei Yunzhe was speechless. At this moment, Chu Zhixing suddenly remembered what had happened on the internet yesterday. His eyelids twitched and he took a deep breath calmly. Yunzhe, you said last time that you would help me talk about the application form. Don't tell me you're planning to look for Mr. Stephen? Yes, I only know him. Bei Yunzhe nodded without hiding anything. Seeing the complicated and regretful expression on Chu Zhixing's face, Bei Yunzhe couldn't help but smile. She glanced at her watch and then glanced at the elevator. Coincidentally, she saw Marcus change his clothes and come down. Suddenly, Chu Zhixing, who was in the midst of grief, heard an inexplicably familiar voice. Yunzhe, can we go to the supermarket later? Your country's instant noodles are really delicious. Stephen said happily. Chu Zhixing raised his head abruptly and saw the person he used to admire the most. This didn't seem to match the character he had in mind. Wasn't Mr. Stephen dressed in a suit and leather shoes every time he attended a meeting? Wasn't he cold and elegant? Although he wasn't very good at Country R's language, he understood the phrase, "buy instant noodles." Okay, I'll send you a few boxes when the time comes. Bei Yunzhe didn't care much and suddenly said, oh right, this is my friend, Chu Zhixing. Mr. Stephen. Bei Yunzhe looked at Chu Zhixing and said concisely. After Chu Zhixing felt his idol's gaze, his body stiffened and he became nervous. Chapter 249. Hello, student Chu Zhixing. Stephen smiled, not putting on any airs on stage at all. However, for some reason, it made people want to get closer to him. Hello, Stephen was actually not a difficult person to get along with. However, Chu Zhixing's foreign language skills were not very good, so it was a little difficult for the two of them to communicate. However, after dinner, Stephen realized that the boy Bei Yunzhe brought was very talented in medicine. This made Stephen suddenly feel that Chu Zhixing was an unexpected surprise for him to come to Yuncheng. You signed up for our summer camp? Stephen could not help but laugh. Why don't you consider studying in Country R? When the time comes, you can come into contact with our research institute earlier. Hearing this, Chu Zhixing almost dropped his chopsticks. Really, can I really do that? One had to know that the interns recruited by Country R's medical institute were all postgraduate students. Last time, the medicine Yunzhe asked me to make should be for you, right? Stephen chuckled. Since you're Yunzhe's friend, there aren't so many rules. Hearing this, Chu Zhixing was stunned for a moment before he realized that his medicine was made by Stephen, instantly. Chu Zhixing looked at the girl beside him, who was eating with her head buried in her food. His heart seemed to have been brushed by water. On this day, Qin Yu, who had just applied for leave from the director and was about to go to Bei Yunzhe's parent-teacher conference, suddenly received a call. Have you been home recently? The man's low and calm voice was very pleasant to the ears. However, Qin Yu was inexplicably vigilant. He laughed. I'll be back in a few days. Brother, what happened? Nothing. I prepared some gifts for everyone. The handsome man in the suite hid the coldness in the depths of his dark eyes. It was only when he thought of something that a hint of gentleness appeared. By the way, how's Gu? Hearing Qin Luyan ask about Bei Yunj the moment he came up, Qin Yu was alarmed. In the past, when eldest brother went abroad, he had never cared about Gu. Even Qin Yojiao was the same. She's pretty good. Qin Yu thought for a moment and repeated what had happened at home. When Qin Luyan heard that Qin Yojiao had been sent to stay with Mr. and Mrs. Qin by Qin Lang, his emotions did not fluctuate much. However, when he heard Qin Yu say that Bei Yunj had also gone out to stay, his eyes immediately darkened. She went out to stay? Where did a little girl like her go to live? Hearing his brother's voice darken, Qin Yu didn't dare to tell him that Gu was staying at his friend's house. Don't worry, it's someone I know. Some time ago, old master also saw him. There's no problem. Qin Yu leaned against the chair and chuckled. When Qin Luyan heard that, he remained silent for a while before saying unhurriedly, then it's not appropriate for our Qin family's young lady to live outside. I'll deal with this matter when I get back. Just focus on filming. After that, Qin Luyan hung up the phone. However, Qin Yu inexplicably felt that something was wrong. Big brother, this ice block, when would he start to care for Gu more? Didn't he not even ask about his parents? Qin Yu did not know what Qin Luyan meant by calling either. However, he knew that there would indeed be trouble with Qin Luyan's return. Qin Yojiao knew that he and Qin Lang would ignore her and would definitely think of ways to make eldest brother stand on her side. If that was the case, it would be troublesome. Chapter 250. Then wouldn't Qin Yojiao have found a backer? Qin Yu pursed his lips, feeling that this matter might become troublesome. At the same time, Mrs. Qin also held Qin Yojiao's hand happily. Jiao, your older brother is coming back. You've suffered during this period of time. When eldest brother comes back, he will definitely help you. Eldest brother is coming back. Qin Yojiao's eyes lit up and she looked up at Mrs. Qin. She had finally waited for eldest brother to return. One had to know that the true person in charge of the Qin family was still eldest brother. Second brother and third brother had no interest in business. For so many years, eldest brother had been the one managing the Qin group alone. Yes, if you have any grievances, tell eldest brother. Mrs. Qin could not help but laugh. Your eldest brother looks cold to everyone. But Jiao, you know very well that eldest brother will grant your every request. A strange glint flashed past Qin Yojiao's eyes and she tugged at Mrs. Qin and said coquettishly, so, I like eldest brother the most. After what she did to Bei Yunj this time, Mr. Qin had already started to suspect her. Fortunately, when Mr. Qin saw her run out crying, he had already dispelled his suspicions and even felt guilty. In the evening, the moment Bei Yunj returned, she saw the man sitting on the sofa. Brother. Bei Yunj called out and was about to go upstairs to take a shower. Who knew? The man put out the cigarette casually and suddenly looked up, saying slowly. Yun, older brother has something to discuss with you. However, Bei Yunj looked at the handsome and dignified man in front of her and remembered how this man had looked when he was bursting with desire last time. What's wrong? Bei Yunj still walked towards him, deliberately not looking into his eyes. Why were you angry last time? Huashidu's gaze landed on Bei Yunj unwaveringly. His tone was casual as he dragged out his words. Did older brother bully you? These words were clearly very normal. However, when he said this, it inexplicably became ambiguous and made her face turn red. Bei Yunj thought of what this man had said to her in the closet and smiled. Yes. Older brother, you're very good at bullying people. At this moment, Huashidu didn't think about anything else. After all, he had drunk too much in the past and did not have the habit of touching girls. Then let me apologize to you. Yun, don't take it to heart, okay? Huashidu's thin red lips curled up and he bent down to look at her at eye level. His tone was natural and intimate as he coaxed her. This man had always been very good to her and even took special care of her feelings. But for some reason, Bei Yunj was not very happy when she saw that this man could not remember anything at all. Were you drunk last time? What happened? Bei Yunj asked. That night, when she was drying Huashidu's hair, she felt that his body was cold. Those who didn't know better would think that he had taken a cold shower. The corners of Huashidu's lips curled up slightly. His posture was lazy and frivolous. He reached out carelessly and gently rubbed her cheek. Yes, big brother accidentally drank a little. Are you in a bad mood? Bei Yunj glanced at him and an indescribable feeling rose in her heart. In her heart, this man was what others called a flower on top of a mountain. He would get whatever he wanted. How could he not be happy? That's not the reason, but I'm indeed not too happy. Huashidu's low and magnetic laughter flowed out as his throat moved. The next moment, he scratched the girl's chin again. But next time, older brother will come back earlier. Chapter 251. The man's pale-colored and abstinent eyes turned gentle. His seductive low voice could easily tickle one's eardrums. Brother will be happy when he looks at Yun. Wasn't this man apologizing just now? Huashidu's eyes darkened when he saw the little girl's bright black eyes staring at him with an inexplicable emotion. Then, he let out a long laugh. His deep and magnetic voice seemed to be deliberately seductive. Yun, don't look at me like that. Brother can't handle it. Bei Yunj, the next time this man drank, she would definitely record it. She would let him see clearly who was the one who couldn't handle it. Seeing that Bei Yunj's expression was awkward again, Huashidu said, then I'll promise Yun one thing. How about that? I don't want to go to school anymore. Bei Yunj said this almost without thinking. Who would have thought? Huashidu looked at her for a while and only laughed. His posture was seductive and ostentatious. Sure, then Yun will come over early and manage the company for brother. Bei Yunj, ? Was this what a qualified domineering CEO would say? Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes twitched. What about you? Brother, just serve our Yun. The man casually played with the silver lighter on his phone. His low and magnetic laughter was light and lazy. His gaze was straight and lustful. It made one's heart beat wildly. Bei Yunj, he was no longer treating her as a younger sister. It was more like he was raising her as a daughter. Be obedient. Come down and do your homework later. Brother will teach you, he said. Bei Yunj was about to scold him in her heart when she suddenly felt the man's half-smiling gaze. Brother, weren't you apologizing to me just now? Bei Yunj asked. Why did it become him supervising her homework in the end? Yes, I forgot to ask Yun, how did I bully you? Huashidu remembered that when he drank too much in the past, he would at most go to bed early. For a moment, Bei Yunj was a little silent. When Huashidu saw this, he suddenly sensed the little girl's abnormality. Huashidu's throat bobbed. Yun, brother took away my pen the moment he saw me. Bei Yunj glanced at him. Because of this? The man licked his thin red lips. His low and hoarse laughter was sexy and pleasing to the ear. He was a little surprised that he would do something like this in his unconscious state. He was also surprised that Bei Yunj had argued with him for so long because of this. Looking at the man's calm expression, Bei Yunj suddenly laughed. Her clear eyes looked harmless. I asked my brother if he could lift up his shirt and show it to me. My brother said that he would only show it to me when we entered the room. Huashidu felt that these words did not sound like something he would say, but the young lady had indeed been awkward for 2 days. The man looked at Bei Yunj and thought. Brother, don't tell me you've forgotten everything you've done? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and said with a smile. Suddenly, Huashidu laughed again. His dark and unreadable gaze landed on her. Then does Yunyun still want to see it? Bei Yunja's smile froze. Question mark. It's okay. Although Yunyun's preferences are special, it's quite embarrassing. Huashidu casually threw the silver lighter on the sofa, not caring much. Brother? Bei Yunj suddenly had a bad feeling. Then, before Bei Yunj could speak, the man had already taken off his tie. His lazy and playful voice was frivolous and straightforward. Chapter 252. There's no need to explain. I'll try my best to satisfy Yunyun. She had never seen the man's figure, but the last time in the wardrobe, it felt firm and hard. However, when the man was wearing a shirt, it did not show and only made people feel that he was refined and dignified. Brother. Bei Yunj grabbed the man's cold hand and looked up. Should I do my homework? I think so. The man's pale-colored eyes could not hide the smile in them. I'll go take a shower first and go downstairs to do my homework. With that said, Bei Yunj immediately went upstairs. Seeing this, the man chuckled. His upturned eyes were charming and his posture was light and lazy. The little girl was so easily angered. How could she let him lift his shirt? Ever since she knew that Qin Luyan was coming back, Qin Youjiao seemed to have become bolder. In the live stream, when Qin Youjiao was chatting with a small celebrity she had just met, she inadvertently led the small celebrity to talk about Bei Yunj. It caused a lot of discussion. However, at the same time, the entire internet was very interested in Bei Yunj, who had never appeared before. After being talked about for so long, she was either scared or too lazy to care. No one thought that Bei Yunj would be the former. However, everyone felt that if Bei Yunj appeared in the public eye, the scene would definitely be exciting and fresh. Before the crowd could calm down, they saw someone coming down personally to tear Qin Youjiao apart. You Manran, your father Pei is a brick. He will move wherever he is needed. Heartbroken, with this post, many netizens discussed fervently. Ha 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 ha. Sister man, what's wrong with you? Do you know Bei Yunj? Daddy Pei. Sister man, are you still the big boss of the industry I know? Work harder, you're number one. Dog head, no wonder artistes can never be seen in public. They like to suck up to rich people? Let me take a look. Which sour chicken is this again? Can't you stand properly on the streets? You're being blind again. Everyone in the industry understood this kind of hype. Qin Yu naturally knew that once he replied, he would be trying to gain popularity for Qin Youjiao. If he didn't reply, she would think that he had acquiesced to Qin Youjiao's relationship. Therefore, at the end of the month, Qin Yu had sent lawyers' letters to nearly 30 netizens, including the small celebrity who had Bei Yunj in the live stream. This move shocked everyone. After all, when Qin Yu had just entered the industry, there had been a huge commotion, but she had never seen him send a lawyer's letter in a stack, as expected of Qin Yu, the crazy sister control maniac. Seeing these dozens of lawyers' letters and Yu Manran publicly attacking her, Qin Youjiao was so angry that her face turned green. However, what surprised Qin Youjiao even more was that she received a call from her manager. Jiao, there's a problem with our company. We're having a hard time with cash flow, and we're being held back by someone. We might not be able to last for more than 2 months. Hearing this, Qin Youjiao's face paled. What? Qin Youjiao clenched her fists tightly. If this news got out, she would definitely be the first to be laughed at. When she signed with her second brother's studio back then, she had been eliminated in the first round. Now that she had finally signed with a good company, such a thing actually happened. Why did this happen? Qin Youjiao took a deep breath. Her manager was also very busy. I think I offended someone. Jiao, do you know the Hua Corporation? In an instant. Qin Youjiao's face paled. Her mind was in a mess and she couldn't hear what her manager was saying at all. Jiao Jiao? Are you listening to me? Chapter 253. Others did not know why the company had offended the Hua Corporation. But Qin Youjiao knew it clearly. It was all because of that man. Qin Youjiao's eyes widened as she gritted her teeth, feeling extremely indignant. How could this be? That man was already willing to do this for Bei Yunj. Time passed and it was Friday for the parent-teacher conference. Most of the students in Class 1 and Class 2 were refreshed. On the other hand, the usually arrogant and domineering Class 7 was strangely quiet. Deskmate, who's attending your parent-teacher conference this time? Lu Yuanci and Bei Yunj went outside to get some water. My brother. Bei Yunj narrowed her eyes. She had only mentioned this to Wuxia casually once and did not know if he remembered. Back then, she had only wanted to suppress her grades and had forgotten that she might be scolded at the parent-teacher conference. I see. Lu Yuanci did not ask further. The moment he thought of Qin Yu's guard against him, his scalp turned numb. The older brothers of the Qin family were each more impressive than the other. At this moment, Mr. and Mrs. Qin had arrived a long time ago and many parents of students came forward to greet them. After all, this was the Qin family in Yuncheng. I'm going to attend the parent-teacher conference for Gu. You can attend it for Jiao Jiao. Hearing this, Mrs. Qin's expression changed immediately. Did you agree to attend the parent-teacher conference today to attend it for her? Mr. Qin, whose thoughts had been exposed, looked embarrassed. But Qin Yu has work and I don't know when Qin Lang will come, then what did you promise Jiao Jiao? Mrs. Qin refused to let it go. Have you forgotten how Jiao Jiao cried in front of you last time? What will Jiao Jiao think if you attend her parent-teacher conference this time? With that said, Mr. Qin's expression did not look too good. Right now, Bei Yunj, who was wandering around the school, was still thinking about whether she should get Si Qingyan to help. Soon. Coincidentally, Bei Yunj happened to be walking towards Mr. and Mrs. Qin. Mr. Qin was stunned for a moment. Bei Yunj glanced at them and prepared to leave as if she did not see them. Go, Mr. Qin subconsciously shouted. Mrs. Qin, who was beside him, pulled him back and could not help but ask, are you crazy? Qin Ji Ai didn't know when it started, but every time Qin Ji Ai's father was alone, his mind would wander off and he would mention Bei Yunj. What's the matter? Bei Yunj glanced sideways at him. Did anyone attend the parent-teacher conference for you? Dad can. Thank you, Mr. Qin. Someone will come. Bei Yunj smiled. Her bright eyes were lazy and beautiful. There was no deliberate estrangement, nor was there any friendliness. It was as if they were strangers who could greet each other when they met. This feeling was like a blunt knife cutting into Father Qin's heart. It was a bloody pain. Oh, I see, Mr. Qin stiffened and nodded. All right. If Gu needs anything, you can look for me. Thank you, Mr. Qin. Bei Yunj smirked and her eyes happened to glance at Qin Youjiao, who was walking over, before she turned around and left. After Bei Yunj left, Qin Youjiao went forward and held Mrs. Qin and Mr. Qin's arms. Dad, Mom, what are you doing? Qin Youjiao pretended not to see Bei Yunj and was in high spirits. It's nothing. I met someone I know just now and chatted for a while. Mrs. Qin smiled and accompanied Qin Youjiao to class. Many people saw the scene of this family of three and couldn't help but discuss it. Mrs. Qin and Mr. Qin only attend the parent-teacher conference for Qin Youjiao? Chapter 254. Someone could not help asking, then Bei Yunj's parent-teacher conference will also be held by Brother Qin? Right? After all, the one he brought back from outside can't compare to the one he has always doted on. Besides, any normal person would want to hold Qin Youjiao's and Bei Yunj's parent-teacher conference. The difference in results was too big. One was second in the cohort and the other was 28th from the bottom. Compared to him, it was really embarrassing. Besides, Bei Yunj was personally raised by Director Lin, but her results were only so. Now that you mention it, I still feel that Bei Yunja's status is not legitimate. How prestigious can it be for her brother to hold it? The girl who was discussing shook her head. So what if she's not legitimate? Didn't we work so hard to get into Yuncheng University? Once something happened to Master Pei, the teachers of Yuncheng University almost became her support group. Another person who was chewing on an apple sighed. Forget it, let's not worry about it. Hearing this, the girl immediately retorted, isn't it because of Director Lin? But it's impossible for Bei Yunj to get into Yun University because of Director Lin. In the office, Bei Yunj had just passed by when she saw a familiar figure. It was her first time seeing Qin Lang appear so formally in a suit and leather shoes. Besides, he appeared beside her form teacher. Bei Yunj sized up Qin Lang and saw that he was a little nervous but was pretending to be calm. Third brother is here for your parent-teacher conference. Don't worry, third brother won't embarrass you. Where did this news leak out? Bei Yunj happened to see the form teacher, who was a little guilty, from the corner of her eye and raised an eyebrow. Come. Student Pei, bring your third brother to the classroom. Bei Yunj never thought that she would have a parent-teacher conference group and two indecent brothers who would count down to the parent-teacher conference in the group every day. Bei Yunj's lips moved. Actually, I've already. Someone came to the parent-teacher conference. Suddenly, Qin Lang heard a commotion and had a bad feeling. Then, he turned his head and saw someone who shouldn't be there. Qin Yu, why are you here? Bei Yunj froze. Even though the class teacher had seen the world, this was the first time she had seen parents of students with poor grades rushing to attend a parent-teacher conference. Moreover, they were parents who had a full schedule. I took a few days off and dyed my hair back while I was at it. Parent-teacher conference, and having blue hair is not good for her image. Qin Yu smiled slightly and glanced at Qin Lang's iconic silver hair. The homeroom teacher closed his eyes in exhaustion. It's starting again. They're starting to talk to each other again. Every day after work, during his free time, he could almost always see the content of these two in Bei Yunja's parents' group chat. They didn't look like brothers at all. They looked more like enemies who were vying for favor and love. Qin Yu, what do you mean? Is there anyone with silver hair more handsome than me? Qin Lang was enraged. The two of them looked like they were about to start a fight in public. Seeing this, Bei Yunja's eyelids twitched. Suddenly. Qin Yojiao's cheerful voice sounded from the end of the long corridor in the distance. Brother, why are you here? In an instant, Qin Lang and Qin Yu stopped fighting and both of them looked at the noble man who was wearing an exquisite black suit and whose eyes were as dark as ink. Chapter 255. Qin Luyan buttoned his sleeves slowly and ignored Qin Yojiao. This made Qin Yojiao's expression freeze. Brother, my class is here. Qin Yojiao said coquettishly, didn't you say that you brought us gifts? Hearing this, Qin Luyan's eyes landed on her and he suddenly snorted. His low and magnetic voice was inexplicably cold. I brought you a gift. You'll know when you get back. With that said, Qin Luyan glanced sideways and did not look at Qin Yojiao again. Brother, thank you. Before Qin Yojiao could show a bright smile, she saw Qin Luyan walking towards class 7. This scene. Not only Qin Yojiao, even the others could not help but stare fixedly at him. It had to be said that the three older brothers of the Qin family were all very handsome, but eldest brother's aura was outstanding and gave people an unreachable feeling. Only one word appeared in everyone's minds. Unapproachable. I'm sorry, Teacher 1. I'm late. Parent-teacher conference hasn't started yet, right? Qin Luyan said slowly. With that said, the form teacher froze. Qin Yu and Qin Lang turned their heads instinctively and looked at Qin Luyan in disbelief. What was going on with eldest brother? Didn't he hate such meetings the most? Did someone call him for Gu's parent-teacher conference? Brother, I came to the parent-teacher conference first. Qin Lang said unhappily. Before Qin Yu could finish speaking, he and Qin Lang felt a threat in Qin Luyan's lazy gaze. Qin Yu and Qin Lang were speechless. Was there a need? Were they biological brothers? Why did he have to fight with them for a parent-teacher conference? At this moment, the atmosphere was awkward. In the next second, Bei Yunja's phone vibrated. She opened her phone and saw that it was a message from Huashidu. I'm almost there. Bei Yunja's pretty eyes moved. How could this situation continue to develop? Deskmate, you're good. Qin Youjiao called 2 over and you're missing 1, Lu Yunci teased softly beside her. Bei Yunj smiled at him. There are 4. Lu Yunci was speechless. It was his first time seeing such a big commotion at the parent-teacher conference. It was not only class 7, even the students from the class next door were discussing it. *CK, I thought that Qin Youjiao asked her parents to attend the parent-teacher conference was to show off that she was a legitimate daughter. Now that I look at it, I feel like Bei Yunj has a heavenly group standing beside her. Someone could not help but mock her. I'm going to die of laughter for Qin Youjiao too. She's so flirtatious online, yet she's still pretending to be innocent. Now, no matter how bad Bei Yunja's results are, there are people fighting to attend her parent-teacher conference. Logically speaking, Bei Yunj has only been back for 2 to 3 years. Why do the Qin brothers like her so much? Is hers s? Hearing these discussions, Qin Youjiao's face paled and her eyes were filled with hatred as she looked at Bei Yunj. Her fingers were clenched so tightly that they turned white. Bei Yunj, Bei Yunj. Everywhere, Bei Yunj was slapping her in the face. A dark look flashed past Qin Youjiao's eyes. At last, the form teacher went to another class and asked for a few chairs, so that these 3 big shots could sit down. In class 7's classroom, a group of girls was outside the window. When they saw Qin Luyan and the rest sitting in a row, they almost screamed. These were male idols. All of them were popular male idols. Chapter 256. Even the parents looked at Qin Luyan from time to time. Qin Luyan and the other 2 were used to it and felt like they were basking in the spring breeze. However, Bei Yunj, who was sitting at the side, felt a little complicated. Especially at this moment, Lu Yunci was even giving her an encouraging look. Bei Yunj was speechless. Who would be willing to bring a group of people to watch when they failed all the tests? However, other than Bei Yunj, the 3 brothers of the Qin family were in a good mood at this parent-teacher conference. Her foreign language score is very high, 87 marks. Qin Lang started to boast. In time, our Gu can even be a translator. With that said, the parent, who had reprimanded her child because she only scored 100 marks for her foreign language, almost spat out a mouthful of water. With this standard, she could be a translator? Are you dreaming? Then, Qin Yu did not want to be outdone. He picked up Bei Yunja's Chinese paper. Gu's Chinese results are quite good too. Her ancient poems are all correct. Oh right, second brother wants to release a national song next time. How about Gu write the lyrics for second brother? The parents beside him could not stand it anymore. Wasn't he King pampering her too much? He could boast about 70 to 80 marks. At this moment, only a few students whose results were about the same as Bei Yunja's looked at her in admiration and even gave her a thumbs up. As expected of Bei Yunj, the brothers at home were each more amazing than the other. Bei Yunja's bright and arrogant eyes darkened visibly as she resisted the urge to walk out. This scene made Lu Yunci lie on the table, but he could not help but cover his abdomen with one hand as he suppressed his laughter. Not long after, the short class meeting was finally over, and the parents all walked towards the conference hall. Don't worry. Even if our girl scores 0, it's not a big deal, Qin Yu said. Bei Yunj glanced at the time and felt that Huashidu might be coming. Actually, Bei Yunj looked up at Qin Yu. I've already asked Brother Shidu to help me with the parent-teacher conference. He's here too? Qin Yu was stunned. Bei Yunj, yes. Qin Yu thought for a while. It's fine. Then the 5 of us will sit in a row. Bei Yunj, forget it, Hengda's conference hall was indeed very big. A few minutes later. Sure enough, when Bei Yunj and the others entered the venue, a tall figure appeared. Qin Yu's eyes were sharp and he saw Huashidu immediately. Master Du, here. Hearing this, Huashidu looked towards Qin Yu. However, he did not expect that other than him, there would be someone else holding a parent-teacher conference for Bei Yunj. Moreover, there was more than one. However, Huashidu didn't think too much about it and walked towards Bei Yunj. At the same time, many people's gazes fell on Huashidu. She originally thought that the 3 brothers of the Qin family were already eye-catching enough, but she didn't expect another godlike man to appear. The handsome man was also dressed in formal wear, but his eyebrows were clear and noble. He had wide shoulders and a narrow waist, and his legs were slender and excessively ascetic. His casual and lazy appearance was still impossible to ignore. I'm gone. What kind of exquisite man is this? Is this also Bei Yunj's brother? Sob, how can he be a man who looks exactly like me? I like mature men too much. Compared to the stinky younger brothers in school, who doesn't like a gentle and hormonal older brother? Chapter 257. Stop talking. Whether it's the school hunk or the domineering CEO, they're not ours. With that said, everyone seemed to hear the faint sound of their hearts breaking. Wasn't this too real? At this moment, Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow and turned around quickly. However, she had clearly heard the girls' discussion just now. Seeing that the young lady not far away had suddenly turned her head and did not look at him anymore, Huashidu raised his eyebrows and did not say anything. Master Du, aren't you being too diligent? You even came to my sister's parent-teacher conference, Qin Yu said happily. Hearing this, Huashidu glanced at him and said carelessly, I didn't expect someone to come either. And there were 3 of them. It's all right. It's not troublesome to have more people. Let's listen together. Qin Yu was very generous. Bei Yunj was controlling her expression very well. Sir, you are? Qin Luyan's gaze had been on Huashidu. At this moment, Huashidu glanced sideways. His attitude was neither close nor distant. He smirked. Huashidu. I've heard a lot about you. So it's President Hua. Qin Luyan was indeed surprised. He did not expect the person in front of him to be the rumored heir of the Hua Corporation. I heard Yunyun mention President Qin. After Huashidu finished speaking, Bei Yunj glanced at him in confusion. When had she mentioned Qin Luyan? However, at this moment, when Qin Yu and Qin Lang heard this, their hearts ached inexplicably. Gu had actually mentioned Big Brother, then, did he never mention them? Qin Luyan smiled and chatted casually with Huashidu for a while. After that, the 2 of them had no intention of continuing. A row of 5 people sat together in the conference hall. Bei Yunj, who was in the middle, was a little silent. It was only when she felt Huashidu's gaze from the side that she leaned closer to Huashidu unconsciously and explained softly in his ear. I didn't know they were here either. She knew that this scene was very out of control. We'll talk when we get back. Let's attend the parent-teacher conference first. Bei Yunj was speechless. There was no need to be so serious. Qin Luyan, who had been observing Huashidu, also realized that the man's motive seemed to be only for the parent-teacher conference. He could not help but darken his eyes. "Brother, why are you looking at Master Du?" Qin Yu asked. Qin Luyan turned around. "You know him? Gu lives in his house." Qin Yu was stunned for a moment before he quickly spoke up for Hoshidu. "Don't worry. I've known him since high school and I've never seen him fall for anyone. How could there be such a coincidence when an iron tree blossoms?" Qin Luyan frowned. He indeed did not see Hoshidu doing anything inappropriate to Gu. He observed for 10 minutes, and it was mostly Gu who was chatting with him. The man listened attentively, but his eyes were fixed on the PowerPoint slide that was automatically rolling on the screen. The two people who were being observed. "Brother, do you know my monthly test results?" Bei Yunj was considering whether she should let Hoshidu be mentally prepared. Hoshidu looked up and chuckled softly. "No need. I want to maintain a sense of anticipation." Bei Yunj was speechless. Looking at the usually bright and arrogant little girl who wanted to say something but was hesitating with a complicated expression, Hoshidu could not help but smile. "Brother, I'm afraid you won't be able to accept it," Bei Yunj said honestly. She had to know that she still had to attend the parent-teacher conference. At the very least, she would pass all of them. "Yun, have some confidence in yourself," the man said slowly. "P.S. There are 19 chapters here. Old Su is continuing to write. You will see 30 chapters before midnight. Be obedient and remember the monthly ticket. Sleep early and good night." Chapter 258. After struggling for a moment, Bei Yunj decided to give up. However, on the other side, Qin Yojiao gritted her teeth when she saw this scene. At first, she thought that Bei Yunj would only embarrass herself at this parent-teacher conference. However, she did not expect Qin Yu to take leave to attend Bei Yunj's parent-teacher conference. "And Big Brother and that man, Jiao Jiao? Did you see that? She's second in the level again. Her results are very stable." Mrs. Qin could not help but laugh, her eyes filled with glee. This should be her daughter. Of course, I can't embarrass Mom. The darkness in Qin Yojiao's eyes dissipated and she smiled at her. The school leaders spoke for more than 10 minutes. Not long after, the top 100 and bottom 100 of the grade ranking were displayed on the screen. However, in order to make things less awkward for the bottom 100 students, the school leaders chose to only show the student surnames and student numbers. "Yun, you should be the only one with the surname Pei in the entire level, right?" The man glanced at the 28th place from the bottom and turned around, his tone cynical. Bei Yunj was speechless. Big Brother looks quite sad when he sees it like this." Bei Yunj was speechless. Until the parent-teacher conference ended. The form teacher of class 7 even specially asked Bei Yunj to stay. Student Pei, which brother usually cares more about your studies? I still have something on, so I have to talk to you privately. There's no need for the other parents." The form teacher was also a little guilty. With so many brothers surrounding him, what if they didn't like what he said and hit him directly? With that said, without waiting for the Qin brothers to look forward to it, Bei Yunj looked at Hoshidu, her excessively beautiful eyes curved. She reached out and tugged at Hoshidu's sleeve. "Brother?" Seeing this, Qin Yu and Qin Lang could not help but turn red. Her 3 biological brothers were here, but Gu did not choose any of them. However, Qin Luyan's eyes darkened and he glanced at Hoshidu. He was selfish and did not want Gu to have too much contact with other men. But now, Gu might not be the same as before. She might not have so many expectations for her big brother. "Gu, you want Mr. Hua to be your parent?" Qin Luyan pursed his lips and asked gently. "Yes." Bei Yunj answered without hesitation. When the 3 brothers heard this, they were silent for a moment and did not say anything else. "Thank you, Mr. Hua." Qin Luyan nodded at Hoshidu. Huashidu glanced at Bei Yunj and smiled imperceptibly. It's no trouble. When Huashidu entered the office and chatted with the form teacher privately, Bei Yunj leaned against the wall alone. A short while later, Qin Youjiao's voice appeared at an inappropriate time. She held Qin Luyan's hand and smiled. Big brother, let's go eat. Mom said that since I won an award this time, let's go out to eat together. A dark look flashed past Qin Luyan's eyes and he glanced at his watch. He looked up at Qin Youjiao. You don't have to go out to eat. I got someone to prepare it at home. Let's go back to the old mansion together. Hearing this, Qin Youjiao could not suppress the excitement in her eyes. Really? Big brother? It had been a long time since she stayed in the old mansion. However, Big Brother was the most powerful person in the family now. Even the old master would listen to Big Brother a little. Qin Luyan did not answer this question. Instead, he glanced at Qin Yu and Qin Lang and said calmly, you guys can come too. Dad and Mom too. Qin Yu inexplicably felt that something big was about to happen, but it was not easy to figure it out. Chapter 259. After all, eldest brother's temper was unpredictable to begin with. Qin Yu and Qin Lang only left reluctantly after greeting Bei Yunj. On the other hand, Bei Yunj leaned against the wall and knocked on the wall in boredom. You haven't left yet? Lu Yuanci was a little surprised. My brother is having a private conversation inside. Bei Yunj glanced at him. Why didn't your parents come? My parents are overseas. The old madam has something on today, so she didn't come. Hearing this, Bei Yunj nodded. Then you should go back early. The person inside isn't your biological brother, right? Lu Yuanci suddenly asked. Bei Yunj did not intend to hide it. Lu Yuanci's eyes darkened and no one knew what he was thinking. Alright, then you should go back early. I'll get going first. Okay, bye. Bei Yunj waved. Huashidu went in for about half an hour before the door opened. The moment Bei Yunj saw Huashidu come out, she felt an inexplicable sense of guilt. Let's go. I'll take you to eat. Auntie Miao isn't around today. Let's go to the restaurant, Huashidu said. Okay. Bei Yunj followed Huashidu all the way until she got into the car and fastened her seatbelt. She asked calmly, Brother, why aren't you saying anything? The man said slowly, it's brother's first time coming to school to be scolded. I haven't thought of what to say yet. Through the rearview mirror, Huashidu saw Bei Yunj's expression and his thin red lips curled up. Teacher Wen said that Yunyun is very smart, but she doesn't like to study. Yunyun, tell brother why you don't want to study? Is it because of the Qin family? Bei Yunj, no. Then is it because of brother? Bei Yunj's answer was even faster. No. Hearing this, Huashidu chuckled softly again and glanced at the girl beside him lightly. He dragged out his voice. Then do you have to make brother unhappy? Bei Yunj, seeing that the girl had fallen silent, Huashidu suddenly said casually, Yunyun. Bei Yunj looked up at him. Huashidu added, open the drawer in front of you. Bei Yunj did not hesitate. She turned around and opened the drawer. She found that it was filled with a lot of candy. It's okay if you don't do well. Brother will teach you well. Bei Yunj glanced sideways and saw the man's superior jawline and handsome and noble eyes. His magnetic and lazy chuckle tickled her eardrums. I was just teasing you just now. How can I bully our Yunyun like this? Bei Yunj's heart beat faster for some reason. She took a piece of candy and peeled it with her eyes lowered. Brother, do you want some? It's for you. Big brother doesn't eat anything too sweet. At night. Qin family's old residence. 6 people were seated at the round table. Lu Yan, you're finally back. I haven't seen you for a long time. Have you lost weight? Mrs. Qin was very happy tonight. The people he wanted to see were all there, and the people he didn't want to see weren't there. No. Qin Luyan's tone was calm as he said, "Mom, I've prepared a few boxes of pearls and diamonds for you. Didn't you want the designer to design them for you last time? Did you hear that? Lu Yan is much more filial than the two of you." Mrs. Qin was overjoyed. "Second brother, third brother, and Dad, I've prepared them too. The assistant will bring them over later." Qin Luyan slowly cut the steak and took a sip of red wine. "Big brother, what about me?" Qin Yu pouted coquettishly, thinking that Qin Luyan wanted to give her a surprise. Chapter 260. "Of course you have one too." Qin Luyan glanced at her and suddenly smirked. "What did Big Brother prepare for me?" Qin Youjiao was excited. Ever since Bei Yunj came out of the mental hospital, second brother, third brother and the rest had never prepared a gift for her. "I prepared a household registration certificate for you." Qin Luyan's slow words made Qin Youjiao's face pale. The knife and fork in Mrs. Qin's hand also fell to the ground. Then, she quickly stood up. "Luyan, what nonsense are you talking about?" At this moment, Qin Yu and Qin Lang sat quietly, looking at Qin Luyan in admiration. As expected of Big Brother. "Mom, your daughter can have someone else, but the elder young miss of the Qin family can only be Bei Yunj." Qin Luyan put down the red wine glass and wiped his thin lips. However, this refined and elegant appearance made people's hair stand on end. Within moments, Qin Luyan took the household registration certificate from the side and put on his gold-rimmed glasses. The man was still refined and handsome. His tone was neither fast nor slow, but it was a little unreasonable. "After tonight, Miss Qin Youjiao will move out of the Qin family." "Qin Luyan, how dare you?" Mrs. Qin's voice became shrill as she roared angrily. "That's not right either." Qin Luyan ignored Mrs. Qin and said with a smile, "The name Qin Youjiao was prepared for Gu Er. Although Gu Er doesn't need it anymore, it shouldn't be yours." "Big brother, you." Qin Youjiao's face paled and she immediately went forward to pull Qin Luyan. Her entire body was trembling as she said with a sobbing tone, "Big brother, why did you become like this too?" "But I didn't do anything. Why are you chasing me away?" "I can give you the name, but this surname must be changed back, Miss Zhang." Qin Luyan's last three words almost made Qin Youjiao's face turn pale. Back then, when Bei Yunj was found, the Qin family had also found her biological father, who was the director of the mental hospital. However, Qin Youjiao despised her biological father for opening a mental hospital and doing illegal things, so she had always been reluctant to go home. In fact, after her biological father was cut by Bei Yunj, Qin Youjiao had never thought of going back to take a look. "Big brother, don't do this." Qin Youjiao's makeup was ruined from crying and she was out of breath. "I don't want to go back. Can you not make me go back? I will never go against Bei Yunj again. Please." Qin Luyan flung Qin Youjiao's hand away and said coldly, "Tomorrow morning, everyone will know that Bei Yunj is the only eldest young miss of the Qin family." In his previous life, he had also thought of doting on this little sister of his. But who would have thought that when his leg was broken by that woman back then, Qin Youjiao would run over eagerly and become that woman's good friend? She even helped that woman and forced him to marry her. He wanted him to marry a woman who had ruined the Qin family. What a joke. Qin Luyan restrained the coldness and hostility in his eyes and the indifference in his eyes returned to normal. But now, everything could be redone. Then, what he wanted to do was to protect Gu Er and the Qin family. "Lu Yan, don't go overboard," Father Qin said in a deep voice. Although he wanted Gu Er to come back, he did not want Jiao to leave either. After leaving the Qin family, Jiao would definitely suffer a lot. "Dad, Mom, I've already bought a manor for the two of you in our nation. If you want to go, I'll get someone to send you there tomorrow." Chapter 261. Hearing this, even Qin Yu and Qin Lang sucked in a breath of cold air. What was eldest brother doing? Forcing her to abdicate? If Mr. and Mrs. Qin did not let Qin Youjiao leave, he would send these two people overseas directly? This was too ruthless. He was indeed the man who Grandpa had said was the most capable of inheriting the family business. Seeing this, Qin Yu and Qin Lang felt a refreshing wind blow from their tailbones to the back of their heads. They felt refreshed. It was a pity that they could not record this exciting scene. Qin Luyan, what do you mean? Are you going against the heavens? Mrs. Qin looked at him in disbelief. Qin Luyan did not have much emotion. He had probably guessed that Mrs. Qin would be like this. He chuckled. If you say so, then so be it. Luyan, there are some things that you have to think carefully. Is what you're doing really right? Mr. Qin said in a low voice. Dad, don't worry. I will never regret what I've done in this life. Qin Luyan smirked at him. Then, the father and son looked at each other. One had a complicated gaze while the other was calm. The night was rainy. Qin Luyan looked at the girl in front of him. She was crying so hard that she could not breathe, but there was no pity in his eyes. I've already gotten someone to change your school record. From now on, you have nothing to do with our Qin family. Eldest brother, I'm begging you. Can you not chase me away? I'm not the eldest young miss of the Qin family. Please let me stay, okay? Qin Youjiao grabbed Qin Luyan's hand and begged. She was drenched and looked disheveled, her eyes filled with tears. However, looking at this scene, Qin Luyan chuckled. This scene was too familiar. In his previous life, when Gu was seriously ill, he had also climbed down from the wheelchair on this rainy day and knelt down to beg this woman, hoping that she could give some medical fees to save Gu. But in the end, she broke that bank card in front of him. She leaned in front of him and smiled. Eldest brother, even if you're not my eldest brother now, I won't give it to anyone else even if I'm ruined. Do you understand? Qin Luyan lifted her chin, but his black eyes were filled with coldness. His smiling voice made one shiver. Qin Youjiao, I didn't kill you because I had my reservations. Is that clear? After saying this, Qin Youjiao looked into Qin Luyan's cold eyes and the coldness spread to her bones unconsciously. She shuddered. Big Brother had never looked at her like that before, such a big brother was too terrifying. The next day, another explosive piece of news came from the Qin clan, shocking everyone. Qin Youjiao, who was doted on by the Qin family, was actually not Mr. Qin and Mrs. Qin's biological daughter. Instead, he had been swapped with someone else back then. That was why Qin Youjiao had been occupying her place for so many years. She enjoyed all the rights that belonged to Bei Yunj. When this news came out, many people thought it was fake news. However, they soon realized that the person who had sent the application was the Qin Corporation. If that was the case, then wasn't Qin Youjiao's condescending Bei Yunj too disgusting? She ate someone else's food, used someone else's things, and even took over someone else's parents and brother for almost 20 years. She actually had the cheek to pretend to be aggrieved? What kind of pretentious White Lotus was this? However, what was even more confusing was Mrs. Qin's statement of severing ties back then. What was wrong with doting on a fake daughter and abandoning her biological daughter? Chapter 262. Perhaps because the news this time was too sensational, the popularity of the topic remained high. It was at the top of the list for the entire day. The netizens were also discussing. What is the Qin family doing? It's all about their family every day. It can't be, it can't be, it can't be. Our beloved little Princess Qin is actually a fake daughter, heartbroken. Then didn't that little celebrity who was so arrogant and said that she was Qin Youjiao's best friend suffer a huge loss? She offended the real young lady. Isn't this her fate of being frozen? As someone in the industry exposed that the company Qin Youjiao is in can't do it anymore. It will definitely go bankrupt in 3 months. This comment is proof. No wonder the Qin brothers are so protective of Bei Yunj. How can they not protect their biological sister? The real young lady's life is really good. She's not in the Qin family and is still Director Lin's daughter. Even if she's not their biological daughter, she's still a daughter they've raised for almost 20 years. The Qin family is too tasteless. Arrange it for me. I want the analysis upstairs. Contrarian Research Institute. Because of this incident, more than half of Qin Youjiao's fans had left. After all, Qin Youjiao had become popular because of her fair and rich beauty. But now, the Qin family had personally criticized her for not being the Qin family's eldest young lady, so many fans could not accept it. Especially the storm of Qin Youjiao mentioning Bei Yunj in the live stream. This was not over yet. The next day, this matter was also spreading like wildfire in Hengda High School. Even the girls who usually played well with Qin Youjiao started to talk bad about her. Even Ling Jiwei, who was in the same class as Bei Yunj, did not look too good. She never thought that Bei Yunj was the real eldest young lady of the Qin family and Qin Youjiao was actually an imposter. All these years, she was actually trying to please a fake young lady of the Qin family? There were many people who had the same thoughts as Ling Jiwei. However, because of this matter, many people gradually understood that Bei Yunj was really not to be offended. Master Pei, let's go to the canteen for lunch. Chu Zhixing lost weight very quickly. This was probably because Lu Yuanci often dragged him to play basketball with him. One could vaguely see the heroic spirit in his eyes. Alright. Bei Yunj was not in a good mood. She went to the cafeteria with Chu Zhixing and Lu Yuanci. But what he didn't expect was, at this time, someone actually came to find trouble with her. Cheng Zihuai held Qin Youjiao's hand and walked in front of her with a dark expression. Bei Yunj, you should have some self-awareness. Even if you are the eldest daughter of the Qin family, no one will think that you are very powerful. Cheng Zihuai sneered. You were just born into a good family. Other than that, how can you compare to Jiao Jiao? Bei Yunj's appetite, which was already not very good at noon, became even worse. She suddenly laughed, her eyes bright and flamboyant. Bei Yunj looked up slowly, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. He patiently said playfully, Student Cheng, can you get lost? As soon as he finished speaking, everyone present couldn't help but gasp. Cheng Zihuai was the most handsome boy in Hengda and also the most outstanding senior in the 3rd year of high school. Even Lu Yuanci had never spoken to Cheng Zihuai like this before. Bei Yunj, you. Cheng Zihuai's expression darkened. Cheng Zihuai, as a man, are you looking for trouble with girls whenever you have problems? Lu Yuanci interrupted. Cheng Zihuai's eyes swept over Lu Yuanci coldly before they landed on Bei Yunj. He laughed coldly. No wonder you're so powerful. So you found a helper. Chapter 263. With that said, he glanced at everyone again, as if what he said to Bei Yunj just now was also said to everyone. Qin Youjiao is my fiancé. This matter has been decided a long time ago. I also want to know who wants to go against the Cheng family. With that said, the thoughts of many people who wanted to ridicule Qin Youjiao immediately dissipated. They almost forgot that Qin Youjiao and Cheng Zihuai had such a good relationship. Even if she wasn't the Qin family's young lady, she would still be the young madam of the Cheng family in the future. Indeed, they could not offend her. However, at this moment, Bei Yunj suddenly laughed and stood up slowly. This scene made Lu Yuanci's eyelid twitch and he had a bad feeling. Yunj, you. Before Lu Yuanci could finish speaking, he saw Bei Yunj walking in front of Cheng Zihuai slowly. Bei Yunj, what else do you have to pretend for? Cheng Zihuai snorted disdainfully. Haven't you always been jealous of Jiao Jiao and think that Jiao Jiao stole something from you? Why don't you see if you're worthy of being with Jiajia?" Before he could finish speaking, before everyone could react, they saw Cheng Zihuai being thrown over his shoulder by Bei Yunj. "Why are you so arrogant in front of me?" Bei Yunj's beautiful and charming eyes were filled with uncontrollable ruthlessness as she spoke with a smile. At this moment, the scalps of those who saw this turned numb. Fortunately, they did not go and provoke Bei Yunj back then. He had actually dealt with Cheng Zihuai in front of so many people, big boss. She was really a big boss. Not to mention the others, even Lu Yuanci, who was sitting not far away, dropped his chopsticks in shock. Lu Yuanci was perplexed. Why was his desk mate so wild? Suddenly, Cheng Zihuai's furious voice sounded. "Bei Yunj. He was actually beaten up by a girl in front of so many people in school? This girl was Bei Yunj?" Without giving him a chance to stand up, Bei Yunj stepped on Cheng Zihuai's chest ruthlessly and rubbed it carelessly. Cheng Zihuai's face turned pale from the pain and he almost shouted out loud. Her bright eyes were full of impudence as she laughed again. "To be honest, I've wanted to do this for a long time, student Cheng." If it weren't for the parent-teacher conference yesterday, she would have smashed the chair on Cheng Zihuai's head. At this moment, seeing this, Qin Youjiao's legs still turned weak. She did not expect Bei Yunj to hit her. This woman even dared to teach Cheng Zihuai a lesson, let alone her, so, don't look for trouble with me for no reason. Bei Yunj's red lips curled into a smile. She bent down slightly, but the smile did not reach her eyes. "Otherwise, I'll be stepping on your head next time." After that, just as Cheng Zihuai felt that his bones were about to break, Bei Yunj suddenly lifted her leg. She turned to pick up her plate and asked lazily, "Are you guys going to continue eating?" Chu Zhixing and Lu Yuanci reacted and shook their heads frantically. If he didn't leave now and the teacher on duty saw him, this ancestor would enter the principal's office again. After Bei Yunj left, Cheng Zihuai's expression was terrible and the people around him did not dare to look at him. "Zihuai, are you okay?" Qin Youjiao went forward and asked with concern. Cheng Zihuai did not care that Qin Youjiao had watched him being taught a lesson just now. After all, Qin Youjiao was just an ordinary girl. She was probably shocked as well. "I'll make her pay the price sooner or later." Cheng Zihuai's face was almost livid as he gritted his teeth and said this. "Master Pei, isn't your temper too bad today?" Chapter 264. Lu Yuanci could not help teasing. At this moment, he could not help but remember the first time he met Bei Yunj. It seemed like Bei Yunj had saved him some face back then, otherwise, if he was beaten up in the canteen, he would probably be depressed for a week. "Really?" Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow. Lu Yuanci immediately said honestly, "This morning, when I saw you sitting, I didn't even dare to ask you to move when I got into my seat." This morning, even the corners of Bei Yunj's eyes were slightly cold and the atmosphere was inexplicably low. Unfortunately, Cheng Zihuai's eyes were on his head and he still threw himself at the gun. Bei Yunj was speechless. She did not notice this. This morning, when she heard Wuxia say that she would go to his office to do her homework from Friday to Sunday, she was a little resistant. However, she did not expect even Lu Yuanci to notice it. Bei Yunj recalled that when that man sent her to school this morning, he had even scratched her chin and smiled seductively. "Why are you so happy to do your homework in brother's office? Why are your ears red?" Bei Yunj was speechless. This man was indeed lying to her. After school, Qin Youjiao had just left when she heard a voice beside her. "Jiao Jiao." Qin Youjiao looked up instinctively. When she saw Mrs. Qin, she immediately ran over and hugged her, crying uncontrollably. "Mom, are you the only one who still wants me at home?" Qin Youjiao choked. "It's not convenient for your father to come over either. After all, your older brother." Mrs. Qin's expression did not look too good either. She did not expect Qin Luyan to be so ruthless the moment he returned. "Mom, then can't I go home in the future?" Qin Youjiao was really afraid that she would return to her original family. "Jiao, don't be afraid. Mom is here. I won't let anyone bully you." With that said, Mrs. Qin took out a key and a bank card. "This is the residence your father bought previously. Jiao, you can stay there. Although Mom can't accompany you, I won't let Jiao suffer. And this card has 6 million yuan. You can't move too much for the time being. I'm afraid your older brother will find out." Hearing this, Qin Youjiao hated Bei Yunj even more. Why did Bei Yunj come back? Why did she have to lose everything she had for so many years? "Mom, do I have to live outside in the future?" Qin Youjiao's eyes reddened. It was only now that Mrs. Qin realized that Qin Luyan was the most similar to Old Master Qin. In the past, Old Master Qin refused to let Qin Youjiao stay in the old manor. Now, Qin Luyan refused to let Qin Youjiao go home. Everyone was comparing Jiao to a dead end. Mrs. Qin caressed Qin Youjiao lovingly as a dark look flashed past her eyes. "Jiao, as long as you become more outstanding, Mom will have a way to make you come back. Besides, I've already talked to Madame Cheng about your engagement with Zihuai. The Cheng family will not allow their daughter-in-law to not have a beautiful background." When she heard that, a dark glint flashed through Qin Youjiao's eyes as she relaxed slightly. As long as Mother Qin didn't give up on her, she still had a chance to go back. Bei Yunj. She didn't believe that she couldn't drag this trash down. Hua Corporation. In the CEO's office. Bei Yunj saw a small figure sitting obediently on the sofa. "Momo?" Momo looked up and her eyes lit up when she saw Bei Yunj. "Sister." Momo put down her pen and ran over to hug Bei Yunj's thigh, saying in a childish voice, "Sister, are you here to do your homework too?" Chapter 265. Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. She glanced at the man who was working and led Momo to the sofa. The two of them, one big and one small, sat at the coffee table. Each of them had a bottle of milk, a homework book, and a pen. The scene was inexplicably adorable. However, Huashidu seemed to be very busy today and did not look up at them. After a while, Mo asked softly, "Sister, when Grandma and I went to Brother's house last time, were you hiding in Brother's closet?" Bei Yunj's fingers paused. "Yes." "Was Sister playing hide and seek?" "Then where was Brother hiding?" Mo was even more curious. "Sister forgot." Bei Yunj's eyes curved and she quickly changed the topic. "Momo, why are you here to do your homework today?" "Because Grandma went out to play. Mo and Alas have to stay at Brother's place for the night." Mo was initially unwilling, but when he thought about how Bei Yunj was staying at Huashidu's place, he quickly agreed. "I see." Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. Suddenly, not far away, the man's casual voice sounded. Mo, if you continue to affect your sister's studies, Alas will have to stay on the streets." Bei Yunj, Mo immediately covered his mouth and looked at Huashidu accusingly. Brother was not talking to him, and he was not letting him talk to sister. Mo was unhappy, but he did not dare to disobey his brother. He could only puff up his cheeks angrily. In the evening, Bei Yunj took advantage of the time when Huashidu was in a meeting to take out her iPad when her phone suddenly rang. She glanced at the caller ID and saw that it was Yu Manran calling. She quickly picked it up. "What's wrong?" As soon as Bei Yunj finished speaking, she heard loud music on the other end of the phone, mixed with a woman's excited scream. Yu Manran was at a bar. "Go, come to Muse." Yu Manran was a little excited. Bei Yunj quietly turned on her iPad and continued to browse through the documents. She said lazily, "Spare me, I just finished a parent-teacher conference." Before she could finish her sentence, Bei Yunj suddenly heard an ear-piercing scream. It seemed that something had happened. You man ran? Bei Yunj was just about to ask when the phone was hung up. What was going on? Bei Yunj frowned and tapped the coffee table twice with his fingertips. He was still worried that something would happen to you man ran. Mo, when Big Brother comes back later, help me pass a message. Tell him that Big Sister went to find a friend, okay? Bei Yunj looked at Mo, okay, sister, be careful, Mo replied. She cupped her cheeks in boredom, looking dazed and cute. Bei Yunj couldn't help but smile and kiss Mo before leaving. Muse. Big sister man, calm down. How are you going to explain later if you trick that ancestor into coming here? The manager's head was about to explode. How could there be such a difficult artist to manage? You man ran burped. He was completely drunk, but his eyes were very fierce. No. I asked Gu to come here to avenge me. The manager looked at the table full of money that Yu Manran had lost and couldn't help but twitch his eyelids. Huh. Make sure that ancestor doesn't come here to take your life first, okay? After finding out that Bei Yunj was the real daughter of the Qin family, the manager was even more certain that Bei Yunj was not someone to be trifled with. In the end, Yu Manran was like an idiot. He lost a game of cards and insisted on getting Bei Yunj to come here. Wasn't he afraid that Bei Yunj would come here to beat him up instead of playing cards? Chapter 266. Yu Manran burped again and walked unsteadily to the card table. Sister man, it's just a game of cards. You don't have to go that far. The rich second-generation heirs who had known Yu Manran for a long time were at a loss for words. Who knew that Yu Manran would be so stubborn when he was drunk and insist on winning? How long had he been dragging them into this game? Wait for my Gu to come. We will definitely win back our losses. Yu Manran said as he burped. He looked drunk. This made the rich second-generation heirs a little interested in Bei Yunj. Who was Yu Manran? She was a famous arrogant lady in the entertainment circle. How could she be so obedient? However, half an hour later, Bei Yunj arrived. When she saw the drunk Yu Manran sitting at the card table, the corners of her eyes couldn't help but twitch. She had thought that something had happened to this person. Yu Manran. Suddenly, a clear and melodious voice sounded. This leisurely tone inexplicably made the manager shudder. However, Yu Manran was completely unaware. The moment he heard Bei Yunj's voice, he pounced forward and hugged Bei Yunj. Gu. Save me. Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. She pried Yu Manran open little by little and asked lazily, "What's wrong?" At this moment, several rich second-generation heirs who were playing cards saw Bei Yunj's face clearly and a trace of surprise flashed past their eyes. Which family did this lady come from? She was so beautiful that she was eye-catching. Not long after, Bei Yunj realized that when Yu Manran said save her, he meant save her table's luck. A few minutes later, Bei Yunj sat on Yu Manran's seat and leisurely won back what Yu Manran had lost. The three rich second-generation heirs lost so badly that they started to doubt their lives. Where did Yu Manran find this person? Wasn't this too cruel? After winning everything back, Bei Yunj quickly stood up and said, "Okay, I still have something to do. I have to go back. Gu, why don't you play for a while more?" Yu Manran held onto Bei Yunj's arm and said coquettishly. "No." Bei Yunj glanced at her and couldn't be bothered to argue with the drunkard. However, when Yu Manran heard this, he suddenly whispered, "Gu, don't tell me you're in love?" Bei Yunj paused for a moment and looked at her leisurely. "What nonsense are you talking about?" "I'm not spouting nonsense. Something must have happened if you're in such a hurry to go back." After Yu Manran finished speaking, a glint flashed across her eyes. She chuckled inexplicably and moved closer to Bei Yunj's ear. "Why don't you try it secretly next time? There was an ambiguous meaning in his words. Bei Yunj quickly understood what Yu Manran was implying. What do you want me to try? Yu Manran said, the easiest ways to test your feelings are holding hands, kissing, and making love. After speaking, Yu Manran smiled meaningfully. Forget about the last one. Gu is still so young. It looks like you've really drunk too much. Bei Yunj looked at her and laughed leisurely again. Yu Manran, who had drunk too much, was indeed bold. Her instincts told her that something must have happened to Bei Yunj. Hence, Yu Manran used all kinds of methods to make Bei Yunj continue to play cards a few more times. He wanted to see if Bei Yunj, who was in a relationship with Bei Yunj, would take the initiative to look for Bei Yunj. But to Bei Yunj, this card game was just like the homework she had done in the office just now. There was nothing that could pique her interest. But perhaps it was because of what Yu Manran had said just now that she suddenly remembered the scene in the closet with Hoshidu. She couldn't tell if she was nervous at that time or if her heart was really beating faster. Chapter 267. At this moment, Hoshidu had just finished his meeting when he realized that the little one was missing. Where's your sister? Hoshidu squatted on one knee and looked at Mo held his cheeks with both hands and tilted his head. His homework was placed far away. Sister went to look for a friend. Look for a friend? Hoshidu raised his eyebrows slightly. He had never paid attention to this little guy's social circle. Did she say when she would be back? Mo shook his head and explained on behalf of Bei Yunj. Sister left in a hurry. However, suddenly, Yu Hanran made a phone call. What's the matter? Hoshidu's tone was casual as he walked towards his desk. Ha, Master Du, you're not good at managing the family. Our sister even went to Muse. Yu Hanran gloated. The moment he heard the news, he called. How did you know? Hoshidu stopped in his tracks and asked unhurriedly. I saw that you were in a hurry to look for her the last time. I told my subordinates to inform me if our sister goes again in the future. Yu Hanran teased, has our sister been led astray? What should we do? Immediately. Before he could finish speaking, the call was hung up. Yu Hanran? Wasn't this man too heartless? Throwing him away after using him? Muse Bar. The three rich second-generation heirs could not help but feel their hearts ache as they watched the chips in their hands decrease. Yu Manran, this woman, actually found such a strong external helper. They looked at the baby-faced girl beside them who secretly handed Bei Yunj a fruit plate and got Bei Yunj to go easy on her. The other two? There was such an open backdoor. Soon, Yu Manran saw the two angry and distorted faces and gradually calmed down. One of them even silently reached into his pocket and took out a cigarette box. Yu Manran immediately interrupted, Feng Fei, Gu, is still a high middle school student. Before he could finish speaking, he stopped abruptly. Bei Yunj, who was playing cards, did not notice a pair of bony hands behind him. He casually took a lollipop from the table next to him. Then, he brought it to her lips. Bei Yunj subconsciously bit the candy when she smelled the faint scent of lychee. But a moment later, he felt a pleasant and familiar cold fragrance around him. Bei Yunj, the next moment. Bei Yunj slowly turned her head and looked into the man's pale eyes. Brother, Bei Yunj had just opened her mouth when the man reached out and casually held the candy stick. His low, magnetic, and languid voice sounded softly. Bite it, Yun. These words caused people's imaginations to run wild, causing their faces to blush and their hearts to race. Especially when he saw the person's face clearly, his heart beat even faster. Only Yu Manran saw clearly that the man who came was actually Hoshidu. He was so scared that he woke up. Master Du? Yu Manran's brain froze. She never thought that the person she thought would be related to Gu was actually this person. Wasn't this person famous for not getting close to women? Oh, this was true. She had personally experienced it. Back then, old Madame Hua had randomly matched Yu Manran. When she saw that Huashidu was indifferent to everyone, she even had designs on Yu Manran. After all, the Hua family and the Yu family had always been on good terms. But how could Yu Manran have the guts to do that? No matter how good-looking or how powerful he wasn't someone she could get her hands on, all right? Hence, when Yu Manran heard the news that night, she immediately got a boyfriend to save her life. Chapter 268. The man's nonchalant gaze landed on her. Are you Yunyun's friend? Yu Manran braced himself. Yes. She had gone overboard. If she had known that the person who had a relationship with Gu was Master Du, she wouldn't have dared to pull Bei Yunj out. Then, before Huashidu could speak, Yu Manran took the initiative to admit her mistake. I'm sorry, Master Du, I drank too much. I didn't know about Yunyun's relationship with you. As soon as she finished speaking, Yu Manran hurriedly picked up her high heels and ran out barefooted as if she didn't care about her life. Everyone? When this scene landed in the eyes of the others, the atmosphere became more and more oppressive. Fortunately, Huashidu only glanced at them. In the end, his gaze landed on Bei Yunj. There was a faint smile in his eyes. Yunyun, she's gone. Do you still want to continue playing? Bei Yunj immediately shook her head. Let's go home. She almost forgot that Huashidu and Yu Manran knew each other, so he should also know Yu Manran. On the way, Bei Yunj followed Huashidu very quietly. After all, the parent-teacher conference had just been held last week, and now she was caught at a bar. Bei Yunj looked up and saw that the man in front of her really did not intend to pay attention to her. She quickly walked forward. Brother? Yes. Huashidu opened the car door and waited for Bei Yunj to get in before returning to the driver's seat. Although Bei Yunj saw that he looked relaxed, he did not say a word. Actually, I was helping Man win some money just now. Bei Yunj tapped her index finger on the armrest of the car door and explained calmly. Hearing this, Huashidu finally turned around and glanced at her unhurriedly. He was refined and lazy. Is that so? Then why did I see someone trying to pass you a cigarette? Bei Yunj, ? When did this happen? Suddenly, the image of Huashidu feeding her candy appeared in Bei Yunj's mind. At that time, the young man behind Huashidu seemed to be holding a cigarette. She couldn't explain it anymore. After getting out of the car, it was already 9:00 when Huashidu brought Bei Yunj home. As for Momo, who was still growing, she was asked to go to bed early. Suddenly, Bei Yunj stood in front of Huashidu and looked up at him with a smile. Brother, I know I was wrong. Can't we make a deal? How can I not be angry? The little girl seemed to be used to this trick. As long as she pretended to be obedient, no one would bear to scold her. The man chuckled casually and raised his eyes. His appearance was light and seductive. He stretched out his hand lazily and gently pushed her forehead with his cold fingers. He said in a lazy and magnetic voice, yes, brother will be unhappy whenever he sees Yunyun now. Bei Yunj, ? As Bei Yunj regained her senses, there was a commotion in the living room. When he turned on the lights, he found that Alice was really tearing down the house. Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes moved, and she glanced at the man beside her calmly. A few minutes later, Bei Yunj held the rope and sat in the long corridor outside. The man and the dog were called Punishment. Bei Yunj couldn't help but stroke Alyssa's head and sigh. This man was really hard to coax. However, Bei Yunj had only been sitting for less than 5 minutes when a familiar voice sounded not far away. "Io, Miss Pei, what's going on? Why are you outside in the wind?" Yu Hanran asked deliberately. P.S. This article is the most sadistic, Punishment. I've finished updating today. From tomorrow onwards, I'll update at least 6 times and normally 8 times. I'll update once my monthly votes reach 150. Good night. Chapter 269. Bei Yunj glanced at him coldly. Then Yu Hanran pretended to be surprised. Why? Don't tell me you didn't return home at night and cheated on Master Du? Bei Yunj sneered. If President Yu was so concerned about the company's market value wouldn't have fallen to second place. Yu Hanran was speechless. This little girl was really vicious. Then why did you go to Muse? Yu Hanran asked without hesitation. The next moment, Bei Yunja's eyes were cold. How did President Yu know that I went to Muse? Yu Hanran reacted abruptly and accidentally met Bei Yunja's eyes. At this moment, it was useless to explain. Well, Yu Hanran forced a smile on his face. What's the hurry? Won't you know when you go in? At this moment, Bei Yunj was not angry and smiled slowly. This situation inexplicably gave Yu Hanran a bad premonition. In the living room, the man stood by the French window. It was as if he was not looking at the beautiful plants outside, but at the girl sitting by the long corridor. Master Du, what's wrong with your girl? Is she standing at the door as punishment? Yu Hanran's tone was casual. He had just received Huashidu's call and rushed over impatiently. He said again, "Io, this method of education won't work. It won't work, so President Yu, take care of your sister." The man retracted his gaze and his tone inexplicably made Yu Hanran's back turn cold. Yu Hanran was speechless. What did he mean? Huashidu was not a busybody. Even if Yu Hanran was reckless, Huashidu might not be able to say a word. After thinking for a moment, Yu Hanran's mind suddenly cleared. He thought of Bei Yunja's specious words and suddenly had a bad thought. He took a deep breath without batting an eyelid. Was it Man who brought your eldest daughter there? Huashidu did not speak, but his gaze was enough to explain everything. Well, Master Du, Yu Hanran began to stutter. He didn't expect that he had reported his own sister. I heard that President Yu has a conscience. How could he come in when he saw the young lady standing outside? The man took out a cigarette from the cigarette box and put it between his thin lips casually. As soon as he finished speaking, Yu Hanran suddenly understood what Huashidu meant. Was she blaming him for not bringing Bei Yunj in? Yu Hanran, Master Du called him over just to let him bring the little girl in? Did Bei Yunj and that Alaskan Malamute have been sitting outside for more than 10 minutes? Was he a tool? Master Du, are you feeling sorry for her? Yu Hanran put on a fake smile and suddenly regretted having such a childhood friend. Although I feel sorry for her, the little girl still needs to learn a lesson. The man held a cigarette between his fingers, his posture casual. Hearing this, Yu Hanran felt like he was going to die from anger. What kind of lesson was this? Bei Yunj going out for a few minutes was considered a lesson? Back then, the CEOs of the corporations who had been taught a lesson by the Hua Corporation all sat on the rooftop, okay? Wasn't Master Du doting on this little girl too much? Although he was jealous, Yu Hanran still called Bei Yunj in. Bei Yunj glanced at the man on the sofa. Brother. Huashidu put out the cigarette between his fingers and looked at her without averting his gaze. Since President Yu has spoken, you should go to bed first. Chapter 270. Yu Hanran was perplexed. Ha ha ha, your words are really interesting. Thank you, Brother President Yu. Bei Yunja's tone was so obedient that she didn't seem like the person who had insulted him outside just now. Yu Hanran was speechless. Neither of them was a good person. Good night, brother. Bei Yunj suddenly smiled at Huashidu and went upstairs with a lass. After Bei Yunj left, before Yu Hanran could react, the man beside him glanced at him. Why aren't you leaving? Yu Hanran was speechless. Listen, Was this something a person should say? Did he really call him over in the middle of the night just to bring Bei Yunj into the house? The next day, Yu Manran called early in the morning to ask about her. Gu, are you okay? Yu Manran was a little nervous. She hadn't slept last night. She felt that she was a little weak in front of Master Du, but she really couldn't be strong. Thanks to you, I'm still alive, Bei Yunj said slowly. Yu Manran explained, sob, I'm sorry, Gu, I was too afraid of Master Du, don't ask me to go to a bar next time. Bei Yunj didn't care about this and comforted her casually before hanging up. Monday. Hengda High School. News had also spread in school that Qin Youjiao had taken a month's leave to go on a piano concert tour. F***ck, she's still in the mood to tour? She's too strong. What are you worried about? She still has the Cheng family behind her. It's not like you haven't seen how much Mrs. Cheng liked Qin Youjiao during the parent-teacher conference in year 3. But isn't this because she's the eldest young lady of the Qin family? Now, the Qin family has chased her out. How can that be? Bei Yunj only has a status, but in terms of talent and knowledge, Qin Youjiao has a lot to be proud of. I heard that the watch on Qin Youjiao's wrist was changed again. It's worth more than 5 million yuan. If she was chased out, would she still be in this state? That's true. I don't know what happened to the Qin family, but they suddenly caused such a commotion. If it were me, I'd rather keep Qin Youjiao. After all, Qin Youjiao is indeed outstanding and can make the family proud. Master Pei, what's going on? Qin Youjiao hasn't left yet? Chu Zhixing furrowed his eyebrows. From the beginning, when Bei Yunj came to Hengda, the rumors about Bei Yunj in the school had never been good. And in the entire school, other than Qin Youjiao, who else would deliberately find trouble with Bei Yunj? I don't know. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows, unscrewed the bottle cap, and drank it. She had never asked about the Qin family. However, the only reason Qin Youjiao could continue to maintain her elder young miss image was because of Mrs. Qin's help. What's wrong with the Qin family? You're the real daughter. Why do you care about that fake daughter? Chu Zhixing couldn't help but curse. However, when he came to his senses, he suddenly realized that Bei Yunj was also a member of the Qin family. He had also scolded Master Pei, Bei Yunj chuckled. You don't have to treat me as a member of the Qin family. Hearing this, Chu Zhixing froze. Only then did he understand why Bei Yunj had never explained her identity to anyone. She had never treated herself as a member of the Qin family, so why did she have to explain herself? After school. The moment Bei Yunj left the school, she saw Qin Luyan not far away. He was wearing a dark gray suit and looked extraordinarily handsome as his dark eyes glanced at her. Gu, Qin Luyan quickly strode towards her. What's wrong? I didn't wait for Gu, to return to the old mansion, so I came to give you a present.